Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down, bosses refusing to pay out, hit and run leave you stunned, drug lords in your future? Maybe not, because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve, but only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh wait, I know. Better Call Saul. So without further ado, let's begin judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
All right, Dragon, we nailed that off. Perfect intro for a perfect episode. Dragon, I'll say this much. Season 4, like 5 episodes in, I would honestly say, as much as I love all of Better Call Saul, the run of these 5 episodes might be the best stretch of 5 episodes we've ever seen in the show. I mean, I thought episode 4 was good, and then this episode came away and fucking cracked it out of the water, Dragon. I mean, I was left stunned. Like, folks, let me just say this much. Like, I've heard some people complain about, like, oh, this season's not going fast enough. Not enough is happening. Folks, if you want to listen to one of those podcasts that nitpicks about the show, this isn't the place for you. Dragon and I are both super fans of Better Call Saul. We both bow at the altar of Vince Gilligan, and this is going to be a fan discussion. We're just going to basically be geeking out about this show and all the brilliance that it's accomplished in 4 seasons for the next hour and a half or so. So if you want nitpicks, if you want oh, I don't think this is going at a fast enough pace and this isn't a perfect show, this isn't the podcast for you. Just straight up. So
to be fair, though, I'd say they haven't made mistakes, therefore it is, quite perfect. So I think we're walking an honest line there, because I mean, again, I've objectively I found nothing wrong with the series up to this point. I mean, I still to this point nothing wrong.
I still think I'm a little bit lukewarm on season 1, but I'll have to rewatch it.
I gotta tell you, really, Tiki, if you rewatch season 1, you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, it's like a perfect kind of one-off binge. Like that's a season. That's a very bingeable first season.
So, Dragon, I hope that you feel as strongly as I did about this episode, because I feel like a broken record every week, but this is as strong as the best stuff we've gotten in Breaking Bad.
This episode was really, really good. And Tiki, I mean, for stuff we won't get into.
This episode is the goddamn Stanton episode.
Well, I was going to tease that up a little.
On Christmas with this show, I really do.
Yeah. Well, yes, I mean, you know me, Tiki. I was just waiting to get to episode 6, but this one blew me out of the water right at the beginning. It was like, oh my god, we're doing this now!
right.
Oh my god! What? Yeah. So I mean, I was wowed from the beginning, where I'm on pins and needles for the next episode. And of course, folks, let me put it in perspective for you. Very simply, if anyone's a fan of Better Call Saul, if you notice, there's a pattern usually in Better Call Saul. Episodes 7 and 9 are usually the most impressive and the ones that blow you out of the water. Not to take away from the other episodes, but those are always like the big, huge standout episodes. Like those are the ones that impress, sometimes favorites among many people. And we haven't even gotten there yet.
Yep.
We're still 2 episodes away from the first one. We're already doing this.
Season 4 is frankly an embarrassment of riches. It really is.
Yep. Like, hey, cold open of episode 4. Well, okay, we see Mike's dead son for the first time.
All right. So the episode's called Quite a Ride. That's very appropriate, because the episode itself is a ride.
Right, let me hit you with a nitpick right off the bat, too. Used to satiate our fans here. No Cadillac, sorry.
All right.
Boo-hoo. Oh, well, no Cadillac. I guess we're not seeing any glimpses of Saul Goodman. I guess this episode's a flop. Oh, well. Oh, wait. Okay, before we jump into it, we have to highlight our director and writer, of course, as we usually like to do. So, our director is a first-timer, believe it or not. A first-time director. Well, not a period. I'm saying a first-timer on Better Call Saul. It's one they didn't pull from the usual Breaking Bad well.
Mm-hmm.
We have Michael Morris. Now, Michael Morris is he is from the AMC. Here he directed a few really good episodes of Preacher, which doesn't surprise me how well this episode turned out. He directed some real good ones. So he's directed Preacher.
Under his belt.
You know what? I didn't really note it, but he may have. He may have done, at the very least, maybe Fear of the Walking Dead. I'm not sure if it was the full. The point is, I think he might. It's like an AMC director, so I think he might have had his kind of toes in a few ponds, if you will. Also, 13 Reasons Why. Directed an episode or two of 13 Reasons Why.
Nice.
Season 2, more accurately. But yeah, seriously, Preacher though. I mean, he directed some really great kind of mulling kind of big ethical decisions and like a big flashback episode. So this guy's good. His first time on Better Call Saul, he knocked it out of the ballpark, and we had a really good writer on it. Writer of one of your favorites, Tiki. We had Ann Cherkis. I want to say Circus, but it has like that. When you listen to the Insider podcast, Tiki, was it Cherkis or Circus?
Oh God, man, there was so much good stuff in that Insider podcast. I don't remember.
All right, so we're going to say Cherkis and possibly embarrass ourselves there, but it's just one is Anne, good old Anne, and she wrote Rebecca, one of your favorites.
Oh yes.
And Off Brand, which is an episode very again the first time we had Saul Goodman kind of turned into a business in Better Call Saul. Basically, first time Saul Goodman was put into play, kind of flirted around as Jimmy's alter ego. Mm-hmm. Not the first time he was named, because that was all the way in season 1 where he name dropped Saul Goodman. Now Saul Goodman Productions, and of course at this point where we actually get at the beginning of this episode, folks, getting into it right now.
Okay, so we start with a paper shredder.
Oh yes. Now, folks, if we've learned anything from the works of Fun with Dick and Jane or anything past Enron, we know shredders are not good news. As in, like, the end times, chaos is coming. It's like for the upper class, bad things are coming. The man's coming down on you. You got to shred those documents. You got to get rid of all traces of evidence, proof, receipts, you name it. But more importantly, we're seeing a shredder because we're linking up. That's right, folks. I said it. We're linking up.
See the folks, I know your phones. We see the columns. Oh man.
We see the matchbooks.
Yes.
We see
the scales.
Mm-hmm, the scales of justice have fallen. Folks, we see Saul Goodman's office in disarray and chaos. And what we reveal is that, folks, this stuff we never thought we'd... I didn't think we were going to get to this stuff until Season 5. And this is the stuff I've been talking about, specifically we'd be getting to, but I thought we were going to get to all this sort of stuff in Season 5. We got a great tease at it right here, where we link up with Breaking Bad for the first time, folks. And oh my God, what an opening.
And I got to tell you, Dragon, seeing Saul Goodman fully realized in this show, it was almost like a horror movie. It really was, because I've always joked about the whole idea of this show is like, you have like basically the image to sell you on the show. I wish someone would Photoshop this. Is you have Jimmy McGill kind of lying on the, lying in the pool float, like you see in season 2. And then you have like a giant Saul Goodman shark just in the waters waiting to eat him. God. And Dragon, I gotta say, I almost screamed when I saw Saul Goodman, like screamed in joy, like, oh my God, we're doing this, but also screamed in terms of like, oh, this means that something really big is going to happen with Jimmy this episode.
Basically, as I was watching it, I put it together as fast as I could, because I watch these Better Call Saul episodes at this point just with a fine-tooth comb, just eager to see what they're doing. And I'm glued to the screen as I usually am, and I'm putting it together instantly. Wait a minute. Okay, so initially I'm thinking paper shredder, and then after that I'm seeing like, wait a minute, scales, that carpet. It kept getting me more and more excited. Then
as I saw the column, I knew exactly what we were doing.
The column was like the last bit of confirmation. Like, oh my God, the column. Then I was wondering, how far are we? And then of course with the paper shred and everything, it's like, are they going there? And yes, they're going there. The link up. Yes.
Yep.
And with that link up,
damn far along in the timeline.
Folks, this actually links up to one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad. This links up to a Peter Gould episode, Granite State. This is the prelude to Granite State. So this episode, essentially, this is right before Saul Goodman disappears along with Walter White. And folks, to make it all relative to Better Call Saul here, this is what leads him to Gene. this moment here is the end of Saul Goodman, and of course leads to the beginning of Gene in Omaha, Nebraska. So this is a very pivotal moment. So essentially, what we're seeing here, again, hence the title, Quite a Ride. This is the last hurrah. This is the big goodbye to Saul Goodman. We're seeing where the path of Saul ends, and and a little fun fact. Two big fun facts I got to mention here. One, I actually told you about last episode. Coincidentally, I had no idea this was coming. One, they shot this on film. That's why it looks so seamless, Tiki, and I love that factor. Because I told you, like, Vince Gilligan, all the commentaries, Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, they love Breaking Bad was shot on film, hence the cinematic look of all these big events in Breaking Bad. Essentially, it was a 62-hour movie. That's what Breaking Bad is in the grand scheme of things. And
Dragon, I feel like Breaking Bad is the movie, Better Call Saul is the novel.
Oh my God, that's a great. Yeah, it's great. Oh, I never thought of it like that.
More nuanced. It's much more dialogue driven. It's much more subtle than Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I feel like as much as we all love Breaking Bad and it's a cornerstone of the TV landscape, I think Better Call Saul is an even more satisfying experience, and I don't say that lightly.
You know me, I'd second that. I easily second that opinion. I'm just with you there. And my point is, so again, I bring the film thing up because, again, they shot Breaking Bad on film, hence the cinematic look, kind of cinematic events. And Better Call Saul, like a novel, if you will, has all we focus in on the fine details using digital. We use 4K digital on Better Call Saul. That's why we can actually read all the text and we can freeze frame everything in a trailer and analyze things. We can do that because it's shot on digital, where you couldn't necessarily do that with Breaking Bad. Now, what they did here, and again, I just like the key to it all. Basically, after I watched it, kind of dawned on me, oh my God, they have the keys to the kingdom on this, because it never dawned on me that, oh yeah, if they do revisit Breaking, because I was wondering if when eventually they do it, if they're going to shoot it on digital and just make it look seamless. But what they did it's such a no-brainer, but so great, is that their key to linking up Breaking Bad is just shoot it on film.
Yep.
It'll look like. I mean, they also used the same. They lucked out, and they had no idea about this, by the way. They actually had Saul Goodman's office. It wasn't destroyed.
Such a crazy coincidence. That must have saved them so much time.
Because Peter Gould was expecting to have to rebuild the set and everything. Okay, well, we got to get like a map. We got to go through. We got to paint it.
That must have been like the biggest sigh of relief ever.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they had to
good day at the office.
I mean, the only thing they had to recreate was like the back wall, so they could, basically tear into it and stuff. But yes, I mean, oh my God! So again, basically they use the office, and again, we just and here's something cool retroactive. And I wonder again if we ever do more link ups like this in like season 5 or maybe this season. Who knows? This is Saul Goodman, again, towards the end of Breaking Bad, where he did kind of lose weight compared to the first time he appeared, which, of course, coincidentally, again, it's the fun little semantics of it all here, folks. Bob Odenkirk, he lost a lot of weight since, I shouldn't say a lot, he lost weight, and he basically, he's trimmed up into a younger, more Jimmy McGill-looking guy, and than he was as kind of the corpulent kind of. And
I'm a spring chicken compared to how I was on Breaking Bad.
Oh, well, you see what I mean, though, right? That it looks very different than Saul Goodman. Of course, they do like these little touches on. It's like these and this thing I love about Jennifer Bryan, the costumer, and I believe the makeup team also works with her in conjunction with this. Whenever we see Jimmy McGill, since the beginning of Better Call Saul, they did these little tricks to make Bob Odenkirk look younger, and we kind of see those stripped away, but he's still like kind of like the stressed out Saul Goodman that we ended Breaking Bad on. Hence, it kind of fits into this beautiful like little connected niche between Jimmy McGill and Saul Goodman, so he looks, kind of thin and haggard like a younger Jimmy McGill. So the point is, folks, that it's like to quote Peter Gould, it's like a Swiss egg.
Yep.
It's a Fabergé watch and a Swiss egg. He likes to switch them around because it's kind of cute and funny. Anyway, so this is right before Grant stays, right before he goes into hiding, and he's basically getting disappeared by Ed, the vacuum cleaner guy, who's played by the wonderful Robert Forster. So Saul, he grabs his hidden duffel bag with Walt and Jesse's money in it, the rolled up money that he's collected for all those Breaking Bad years. He frantically looks for. Francesca's shredding. I'm sorry, you want to take us through some of this?
Yeah, Francesca's shredding. He's like, "Hey, where's the what? Use your words." And he pulls out Dragon a major symbol of Breaking Bad.
Box cutter.
Yep.
He's a box cutter. He cuts into the constant. The funny thing about Saul Goodman says he has all these fake columns and these and basically the Constitution is like printed on the wall everywhere. So basically, he cuts into the Constitution.
Symbolism.
I love this. He's cutting into the Constitution to retrieve a very important item that we've been teasing ever since the beginning of Better Call Saul. The box full of the mementos of Jimmy McGill. Like they had in that box, we had the VHS tape of all the Saul Goodman commercials.
What's in the box?
We have the little Band-Aid tin full of the silver dollars that he used on his scams from his Slippin' Jimmy days. There's like a lot of cool stuff that we haven't even explored everything in that box yet. So there's a lot of neat little things in that box. So again, Tiki, when you think about it, all the remnants of Jimmy McGill are in that shoebox, and he takes it with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Trippy. So, okay, what happens? Again, he's cutting into it with a box cutter. He grabs all of his to-go money, gives Francesca some to-go loot. I love the fact that he's hiding most of it, by the way. He makes up like a lie, like, oh, just like, the rats and stuff are up there. So he basically gives her some.
For like one roll, and it's like, all right, fine, 2 rolls.
Yeah, that just shows you Jimmy McGill's a far nicer guy.
It's like stacks, man. He has like suitcases full of money, and it's like he can't spare 2 of them. It's hard for him to spare 2 of them, Dragon. You're absolutely right. That shows the mindset right there.
So,
he's about to pay a very hefty lump sum in cash. So
true. So good old HT here, or as we kindly referred to her, Francesca. She's shredded the files in her desk, the Rolodex, and what about the bathroom? Yeah, you shredded those yourself, which I think is like a dirty magazine joke. I think. Saul, he grabs the box, he packs into the blue suitcases that he has. Here's the thing, folks, it's a perfect link up to Granite State because he has those 2 blue suitcases in the same shirt. He has the bandage from when Jesse hit him in the face with the gun and everything. He punched him and everything. So it's a perfect link up. And he asks her to dump the shredded bags like 5 miles away, and he gives her the rolls of cash. And he gives. Now, I presume, again, we're not 100% on this, Tiki, but I mean, unless it's like a big plan that they're kind of building to it, like another link up in the future. I don't know. I believe he gave her the number of the disappearer. But at a different time, he told her, okay, so after the cops come, you don't say anything. And at November 12th at 3:00, you're going to be there. And that I assume that means you be there. That phone's going to ring. That's when you get your exit.
That's what I assume too. Yeah, I mean, you're right. We could be wrong about that. They didn't really confirm it either way in the podcast. They didn't really talk about it, but.
Well, I mean, I watched that Easter egg thing, and I'm pretty sure they didn't say it outright, but I think they said oh yeah, that he gives her that car, which implies that that's okay. It's the same card that he has too. So yeah, the point is, most likely he's also going to disappear. So at least there's a little bit of Jimmy McGill there. He's taking care of Francesca. It's like the reward for all the service after all the years, and he tries to go for the hug.
Which, of course, is like a little tiny taste. This is a very serious, very urgent scene, but the hug is a little tiny taste of the one-dimensional cheesy lawyer Saul Goodman.
You got to remember, this is the crawl space equivalent to the Saul Goodman, where he's trying to get out of town as fast as he can. Only difference is he's successful here, where Walter White's letting out a hysterical laugh in utter chaos. So then, of course, in that really moment there right before the hug, he's saying, "Huh, quite a ride, huh?" Of course, the episode title right there, man. Again, we got quite a ride in the figurative sense, like we were kind of hoping for. That's great.
Sure.
So Jimmy then he says, "Tell him Jimmy sent you." And of course, it's like the one time Saul Goodman says Jimmy McGill. Essentially,
he hasn't used that name in years. I mean, there's an air of mythicism around that.
I mean, Tiki, the closest we ever got, and he never even said it, but we saw it once, is that the American Samoa degree says Saul McGill.
Okay, and then of course he, we have that whole speech about, his last, him inventing the Saul Goodman name and his real name's McGill, and.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
we've heard McGill. If anything, that's the only thing we've heard and seen, McGill. We never got his first name until the show, Tiki.
Right.
So Jimmy calls Saul. Sorry, so unusual, folks. Saul.
No, we have to. In season 1, we were trying to get used to calling him Jimmy, but now it's completely the other way around.
He calls the Robert Forster character, and which, by the way, coincidentally, Vince Gilligan and the crew, they're big Jackie Brown fans, which of course has Robert Forster in a huge role. So. So he calls Ed, gives him the call sign about he basically gives him the make and model of a vacuum cleaner, which is the
Uber
code for it. Get me out of here.
Pressure Pro Model 60.
Yes, very hot. It's very hot right now, and basically that's the cue of get me out of here. Gives him an address, and of course this is important, folks. I love how this opening basically it creates the thematic crux of the episode, and of course this pays off by the end in various elements throughout the episode. I love how this works retroactively.
The way that this pays off with the ending, especially, is heartbreaking. Dragon, it's one of the most pathos-filled things I've ever seen either show do.
So one, he breaks the burner phone. He breaks into, which of course is going to take us to our next scene. He breaks into, and then he's kind of left there again after that line. Quite a ride, we just see the reality of what Jimmy ultimately builds and where it ends. And again, the ride. Basically, we set up the ride getting there. Hence the quite a ride of it all here, folks. Again, he's going to the ride of Saul Goodman. But again, as we learn through Better Call Saul, and especially this episode, basically what this episode builds to is the fact that we're going to reveal, again, without getting all into it here, is that we're beginning Jimmy's journey into Saul this season. That's really what we're doing in the business of Saul Goodman, of constructing that, and we're going to see the intentions and everything this episode of what gets us there. So that's the point. Like, we're seeing this is the end. This is like in ruins and shambles and chaos and just kind of that sad depression. This is what it's all building to, what Jimmy's trying to do right now. So yeah, I mean, big end and big opening. So oh my god.
When the cold open hit, or when the intro hits, at that point, Dragon, I'm just like, I love this show. I love this show so much.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Afterwards, kind of stupefied, like, oh.
Right.
Jimmy's back at the phone store, and of course, as we called, Jimmy's starting to sell the burner phones.
All right, now, Dragon, I gotta point out really quick, like, if you want one nitpick at all right?
What do you got?
This is like a very classic, like, we don't care. This is like a great we don't care, Dragon. It really is.
Now, let me see, because I would argue any we don't care away in Better Call Saul. What do you got?
I think that there should have been at least a mention or a reprimand of the fact that he like painted that whole thing on the windows. I think in any real world employment situation, you'd probably not get away with that without.
Well, no, remember later on he corrects that though.
No, I understand. I get that. I'm just saying. Again, it's totally a we don't care. It absolutely is. I'm just thinking, it's. Like, I guess the manager of these places is just really unattentive and doesn't stop by the stores.
Well, it's only 2 days, Tiki.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the guy said he might stop by, so he doesn't show up in 2 days in their other locations. So that's not even a we don't get to, like, that's okay. It's just 2 days.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, so I'm just saying, like, we don't care. Is like that's for a rainy day when Better Call Saul needs it. Right now, they don't need it yet.
All right, I hear you.
Don't waste the we don't care like that, Tiki. That's what I'm saying. That's for that's basically that's our Ed phone number right there. It's like that's our we don't care. Like, okay, we gotta dig behind the wall, Tiki. Dig behind.
I love how we don't care is essentially podcast currency right now.
Essentially, we don't care is kind of our pager from the end of Infinity War. That's kind of what.
Anyway,
so yes, so Saul's in the. Sorry, darn it, Jimmy. Oh, this is gonna be difficult. So yeah, Jimmy
kind of standing around. We get kind of like the the different shots of him in different positions, kind of jump cuts. And Dragon, I gotta say, I have to emphasize this point yet again. I would be freaking miserable at this job, and I absolutely empathize with Jimmy.
So Jimmy, importantly, what I love what he's doing here, he's waiting for his plan to work. And if you notice, especially on a rewatch, Tiki, he's about to go for that ball again. Like he's thinking, okay, I guess my plan didn't work. I'm going to bounce that ball, Great Escape style again.
Mm.
And anyway, so as he's just about to do that, he sees a customer pull up, and what he does here gets into this really great scheme here, where he using a burner phone, he fakes a call, as in someone's ordering 6.
Oh, it's perfect, Dragon. It's so perfectly timed. My favorite detail is when the guy actually walks in and Jimmy just raises the one figure like 1 minute.
So basically, he makes it sound like he has like a successful sale of 6 phones.
And then, of course, he's got that stack of burner phones that's like on hold, apparently.
Well, no,
like,
those are
not sell. Like, you know what I mean.
I know, but that's the thing, dude. Those are the 6 phones that he just cleared on that phone call. He just put it. He mentioned while the guy was in there, 6 phones, and of course he stacks six right there as he's walking in,
Uh-huh.
which is clever. It's like, okay, just the guy sold the whole transaction right there. And of course, what really draws his attention upon hearing that is that Jimmy he breaks his phone, which is so unusual. Again, burner phones. I don't know when burner phones started. Tiki, I really don't. I wonder how new this really was. This is like
I
2003.
don't
So
want to look too much into it, but I seem to remember in 2002 these weren't necessarily I guess the difference between burner phones and regular cell phones is simply the fact that you're not on a plan with a burner phone.
but
Because
yeah,
honestly, I feel like regular cell phones in the 2000s were not that far off and not that much more advanced than what we see in the show with the burner phones.
sure.
So I think it's more of a difference of the plan, if anything else.
Well, sure. I just realized. Okay, that's fair.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. So Jimmy, so what he does here, again, so the guy now he draws the guy's attention by like breaking his phone, and uh, basically he draws the break draws the contractor's attention. Let's call him the contractor here. He draws his attention, and
Dragon, let me ask you this. I'm like, there's very much a possibility that you're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about, Tiki? But did you get a John Carroll Lynch vibe from this guy at all?
here's the thing. I didn't get that. I see what you're talking about because there was something about the guy. I did not get John Carroll Lynch, but I can see that
I think
vaguely
John
though.
Carroll Lynch would just fit like a glove into this show, honestly.
He would, but again, this
I
guy,
could
I don't.
totally see him as as like a golfing partner for Kevin or something.
I could so see him as like Kevin Walktel's friend.
Right, right.
Like another, we could always use another banking pal for Kevin Walktel. We could always. Anyway,
little baby bird with a broken wing.
save it for later, Tiki. We don't have
All right, all right.
jumping ahead with a little baby bird gag. Anyway, so but yeah, so basically he draws this guy, and basically the idea is that he has this the whole like privacy sold here, and the guy's inquiring about this privacy sold here at a phone store. What are you talking about? And basically Jimmy sells him, to abbreviate a little here. He kind of sells him on privacy from the government, the IRS. Bingo. Basically, he sells him on the IRS because he tells that's the bigger concern there. And
What I love about the sale is that Jimmy is basically letting him make the pitch. It's like the choose your own adventure of salesman tactics.
essentially, he hits him with the IRS sell and limited supply. Basically, it's like, okay, these phones belong to somebody. And of course, basically customers want what they can't have. Essentially, it's like they want the floor model. They want what they can't have. He literally rips it from the guy. He's very smart here. Jimmy hands him a phone, so it's like in his grasp, and then takes it out of his hand and saying, "No, these belong to somebody else." So again, he basically overcharges him for those 6 phones. And again, folks, let's not underestimate this. He sold 6 phones, 6 burner phones, based on a fake call with like this kind of tossed around this very Saul Goodman-esque terminology here, like information hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Information hygiene, I think it's a good line. And of course, like how much are they? Cheaper than an audit. Great line. That's a Saul Goodman line if I ever heard one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Great dialogue. It's great. Again, I love that Jimmy's starting to bleed in the Saul Goodmanism so far. This is all great. Okay, so Jimmy's he's making. Here's the idea. The idea is that Jimmy's successful here, but again, this guy, for all we can tell, he's an actual contractor. We don't know how seedy this guy is. We just know that it's a guy who wants to be off the books. And then that's the thing. Like, the point is, like, Jimmy's not drawing the clientele he necessarily was hoping to. And at the very least, Jimmy could do really well with this, but he's waiting for the customers to come to him. And that we're going to see how he deals with that later on. So, meanwhile, let's see. Let's go to the airport.
Should I do the other image now or when we get the phone?
Let's wait till we go to the van. Let's wait for the.
Okay, the van. Okay. So, Dragon, I'm not gonna bore you with the details on this. All right.
Okay. All right.
But let's just say the Denver International Airport is ripe with conspiracy theories.
Get out of here! Really?
I swear to God. I swear to God. So I do not think this was unintentional. I think they chose the Denver International Airport for a reason.
It's worth looking into.
Oh, I can link you to some stuff, man. It's basically the long and short of it is the theory is that it's a fallout shelter.
Really?
Yeah, that's the theory, and I honestly 100% believe that theory. But again, I had no idea you'd be so into this, Dragon. This is a rabbit hole conversation we can dive down at a later time. Trust me, it's a whole podcast we could do.
Okay, anyway, so an engineer here. So by the way, this guy, he's this bugs the crap out of me because I looked in the credits. I tried to get a name on this guy. He's just basically going by the Insider Podcast. They nicknamed him the European. You know what I nicknamed him before I listened to the Insider Podcast? I nicknamed him the Frenchman.
Oh God.
Or Mr. French. Or Mr. French, just to kind of make it sound more
Mr.
official.
French.
You know, like the French Connection and all that sort of. Anyway, the point is, so Fring is auditioning engineers here. He's interviewing engineers for the big Super Lab project. That's the gist of it here. So basically, what he's doing is Fring's a very careful guy, and he's bringing them in, and of course, he's not bringing them straight into Albuquerque. He's bringing them into Denver, and the idea is that they're going to be specially instructed to kind of be transported from Denver to Albuquerque, which is like they're right next to each other. It's like driving from state to state, essentially. But it's kind of like on the line, presumably. Again, I don't know where the airport in Denver is, but anyway, the point is,
airport in Denver is way up in the mountains, Dragon. That's one of the weird things about it. It's not actually in Denver. It's like a 20-minute drive away from Denver.
Well, that would explain kind of the bumpy terrain, I guess.
Yeah, it would. It would. You're right.
All right, so basically, so our guy, the European, again, I guess doesn't really have a name period, which bugs me, and I feel bad for that actor because he was fun. I thought this actor was fun, by the way. I liked the European. So the European here, he finds a car, and of course he finds like a magnetic key underneath one of the tires. He opens it up, and he has a cell phone. And inside the cell phone, he gets a call. Who's he get a call from?
He gets a call from Mike.
Yes.
Which we'll build to, but Mike, of course, always being the consummate professional, Dragon. He's just basically laying out like, look, you're going to take the ticket, you're going to get out of the parking lot, and then you're going to drive. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact lines, but
sure, and also with that, I love that this is very Full Measures-esque. You know, when Mike is like, calling Walter and saying, "I could kill you from here, Walt," and basically it's like that sort of thing. Where that's what all this phone stuff really reminded me of. This episode, outside of the obvious references, there are a lot of elements of this episode that really feel like Breaking Bad. Feel like incidental setup for stuff we're going to see in Breaking Bad, and I really appreciated that side of it because there's a lot of full measure in this episode. A lot of the ending of season 3 of Breaking Bad. One with the location, but of course, two with like Mike giving instructions over the phone and like instructing people to do stuff with cars.
Dragon, really quick, because I actually piqued your interest with this, do you mind if I show you 2 really creepy things about the Denver airport that'll take like literally less than a minute?
If you think that's wise, I guess.
I just because I piqued your interest with it, so.
All right.
All right. So we have this giant blue horse statue right at the entrance to the Denver airport, like practically on the runway. And the really creepy thing about this statue is that the head actually fell off of it and killed the creator.
Wait, what?
I'm not kidding.
Really?
When this was being constructed, the head fell off and killed the guy who designed it.
You gotta be.
I'm not kidding, Dragon. This is 100% factual.
Like who noted this fact? Was it a reputable newspaper or like is this coming from a person or is this coming from like a tall tale?
It comes from multiple sources. I mean, it's it was in the news and everything.
Is there an obituary to go with this guy?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
All right, okay, so head fell on creator of statue. Okay.
And just generally speaking, the statue is creepy as hell, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I do think that actually.
All right, and then also in one terminal of the airport, there's these really creepy and morbid end of the world type murals.
Who designed this airport?
That's what I'm saying, man. This airport is fucked up. This is just like just giving you a taste of it, Dragon. I swear to God, there's a lot more to it.
Now you're sure this is the same airport? Like, are there multiple airports in Denver? Like, is it it's the one?
Okay, well, here's the thing, Dragon. This is all part of the conspiracy theory. There used to be a perfectly legit, perfectly good airport that was just outside of Denver, like a 5-minute drive away. and no one knows why they constructed the Denver International Airport. It was, it was like kind of like, wait, why the hell are we closing this airport that's perfectly good for one that's like way out in the distance, like the Overlook Hotel where you have to drive through the mountains to get to it? And no one knows, Dragon. Really, that's just something that the designers of the airport in the city of Denver never disclosed, is why the actual, the original airport closed and this one that's much more inconveniently out of the way opened. Hence the conspiracy theories. Trust me, there's a lot more we could get into with
All right, can we get back to the episode, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, in case the Denver thing is intentional, I'm listening, folks. I got it. I haven't heard anyone else bring up the Denver thing, but since the Denver International Airport is like one of my conspiracy theory areas of expertise, I kind of thought I'd give it a little bit of a deep dive there. Anyways, back to the episode.
Anyway, so we have Mike kind of doing some.
I know that was off topic, but you got to admit it's interesting.
Hey, yes, it's interesting, but maybe a little ill-timed at the moment. But sure,
right.
It's interesting. So let's see. So then, Mike. The European is instructed to basically take this car, follow the signs, and he basically pulls off the side of the road here, and he basically goes into the trunk and he puts on a hood.
Relieve yourself.
No?
Are you sure? It's going to be a long while until you can do so.
Oh, fine. So I love how, I just love how it's basically Jonathan Banks as I just love how courteous it was, almost like the safety instructions before a ride or something. It's kind of like Jonathan Banks is kind of a travel buddy here. I love all this.
Oh.
So then, of course, speaking of travel buddy.
He says, pop the trunk open, you'll see a hood, put the hood on, and stand by the car with your luggage next to you.
Yeah. So then he joins...
Stand there with hood on my head. Those are the rules.
So he joins Mike in the back of a van with Nick driving, by the way. And Nick, little fun fact, Nick is one of Fring's men who's been all throughout this season. He's just been like, conventional henchman number 3 outside of Tyrus and Victor. And here's the thing. You'll remember him as he was the guy killed by the sniper when Fring did that thing where he walked in front of the sniper and said, "You hit me," that whole thing.
Really?
Guy who got killed, I'm pretty sure, he got like 90% certain that was Nick. So Nick got killed by the sniper that was aiming for Fring. So I'm pointing like he's the guy who's driving the van here. So if you ever want to know like who Nick is, like that, this is that guy.
All right.
So speaking of
we don't care about Nick though, Dragon. You know who we care about?
Mike. One could say we love Mike.
All right.
Not only do we love Mike, we love Jonathan Banks because he's the wonderkin of performance. He's one of the old school actors in the best of ways. He's a character actor's best buddy. And not only is he a best buddy, he's a travel buddy in this case. And Jonathan Banks, he did such an excellent job as Mike, as he usually does. But in this case, as you can see by a little photo collage.
And to be fair, this isn't as much of like a tour de force of acting from Jonathan Banks as the last episode was. But I have a feeling we're going to be getting some good stuff with Mike in episode 6. And not to say there's bad stuff with Mike. I'm just saying like Mike is kind of like an autopilot in a good way this episode, where he's like, he's a consummate professional. He's basically like the Mike the Cleaner character from Breaking Bad in this episode.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I just love how he's like Fring put it, the end of the last episode was okay. Fring's ready for a job. He's ready to be in the fold with Gus Fring's plans here. And we're seeing what that looks like. And again, Mike is very good at his job here. Again, he's kind of the travel buddy for all these potential engineers, and he's just doing an excellent job. You have to relieve yourself. Okay, yeah, think about that. It's a long trip. Again, he's just doing all this. Again, he's hitting all the right notes. And I love the little bit here where it says, "There's a strap to your left. We're hitting some bumpy terrain." Again, he's like,
the Frenchman is like really struggling to grab onto that strap.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah. and then that's the thing. I love that John Banks, like he kind of plays like an airline stewardess or something in this, and I think it's
like a very stern, very professional stewardess.
Yeah.
Very no-nonsense.
You gotta tell, he's the kind of stewardess I like to have on a plane. It'd be terrifying. But what if you mix like the air marshal and the stewardess together, you get Mike?
Hot towel.
Would you like some sake? All right. Did you have the kosher meal? No. You didn't get the kosher meal. What do you mean that's all we have? Anyway, so sorry, getting back on. So one,
You know what they say about airline food.
what's the deal?
All right.
Anyway, so we have these great. I love the travel cuts. By the way, we cut to the various points of the travel, like the bumpy terrain and like all that. Then we have this great. I love it. I don't know how they shot this, and I'm sure it's a pretty simple trick, but I love it. We have like the under the hood shot with the camera. It must be like a GoPro or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think it's a GoPro. That'd be my guess. Yeah.
As a matter, they've had various great little camera rigs where they've had cameras built on like basically attached to shovels and stuff, like with Jesse in that one episode. We've had like a lot of great the gas canister. We've had a lot of great camera shots. So this is like part of the course. Again, we're getting really inventive with the shots of this episode here. So again, like we see like him looking from under the hood at his feet, so we can see like where he's stepping and everything. And he's led to the laundry, which of course eventually will be the super lab.
Oh boy! So all the Breaking Bad stuff is just colliding into each other this episode, Dragon.
And again, Tiki, this is another Full Measure homage, where again the big climax of Full Measure was Walter White in the laundry, and basically Mike standing. Basically, the facilitator of Gus Fring's needs with another man in the laundry in a very kind of dead of night looking kind of area. So yeah, so the Frenchman or the European, take a pick. He uses a lot of, and you know me, I'm a gadget nut, so I love like all this cutting edge circa 2003 technology. He's using like a little laser guided measuring stick. He's mapping it into the computer, basically kind of get the dimensions on the thing. And he basically sees what it would take to engineer the super lab, basically like an underground entrance and the whole shebang, all of that. And he estimates between 6 and 7 months. And he's very cocky. He thinks he can do it in 6 months. So Mike gets a call from Fring, and it's a no. And of course, we have this pardon, which of course we just cut to him being taken all the way back to the car.
Luggage and like the airplane tickets in his breast pocket.
And of course, the airplane is perfect visual storytelling, where it says, "Welcome aboard," as in, okay, he's out of there. So I imagine, again, the Insider Pod has kind of weighed in a little bit on this here, but I got to tell you, just my first instinct on this is that okay, he bragged too much. Either one of two things. One, I think the Insider Pod has kind of cemented my view on this. I think it's either he bragged too much, he's overconfident. Again, the guy, like a professional, like he was like from a Bond movies almost. Like, okay, this guy, he's the James Bond of interest.
Is the vibe I got.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's either, I think you're right on that. I'm saying I think he's either bragged or 7 months is too long for Fring. But again, I think it's more of like he needs to trust in the guy. He doesn't trust this guy. And here's the thing. I think he bragged about his previous job, and I think that was a bad inkling for him. I think that's what
that's a good call, Dragon. I didn't even think about that.
Because he mentioned something along the lines of the El Paso job, where basically they dug under like a border crossing at El Paso. And I think him mentioning that, one, rubbed Fring the wrong way, like, okay, this guy's kind of a bragger, and he's not sweating at all. There's not like really a human element I can relate to on this guy. He's too good. I think it's a bit of both there. I think the guy just proved like, okay, this guy's too good to be true. I can't do it. So, but again, that's a talented. I like the actor they brought in for like a brief role there. It was like, I don't think he was good. So, next scene, Kim.
Kim is straightening the tie of. Oh my God! Probably one of the dumbest characters we've ever seen in the ABQ verse. Dragon, honestly.
Don't you love this guy though?
I mean, he's just like he's so dumb. It's like he basically gets he basically gets his life back on his silver platter.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the D. I thought you meant the DDA. Sorry, I thought you. But yes, I agree. This kid is dumb. Yeah.
This kid makes Badger and Skinny Pete look intelligent, honestly.
We've never really reflected.
He might be more book smart than Badger and Skinny Pete, but those two are definitely more street smart than this kid.
This isn't a complaint, but it's kind of a recurring theme now you bring up if you really look at the ABQ verse as a whole, the Albuquerque verse. They're all they don't really reflect well on youth, with the exception of Walter Jr. And of course they have the whole Flynn breakfast thing. But you take that out if you factor that into the equation, they don't really reflect well on teenage youth in the Albuquerque.
Yeah, or I mean, even people in their like 20s, like us, honestly.
I'm just saying, like Jesse Pinkman, the film crew, the
Skater guys.
skater twins, like all these. We really do not. Of course, the kids later on in this episode, we really don't reflect well. And I
Right,
wonder.
right.
Here's the thing: I don't think any of the writing staff, to my knowledge, I don't know if honestly, I don't think any of them have kids either.
I don't think so either.
Because none jump to mind. Schnauz may or may not. I don't know, but everyone else, I don't think they do. And I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I know Gordon Smith's a young man. He doesn't have any.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
what was I getting at? Oh yes. So regardless, however that came about, Kim, she's in court. She's preparing David. David's our young punk kid here, but he's a good. The difference is that David is he's dumb, but he's not a bad kid. Our other guys later on, they're going to be bad.
I don't know, Dragon. We don't necessarily know that.
Kim's going up the bat for him, which implies that she sees something in him. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, let's. I don't know. I have some theories about Kim. I don't
right. Now you bring that. Yeah, you're right. We don't.
I don't necessarily think that she's doing all this for the right reasons, Dragon.
You're right. I agree with you 100% on that. We're going to get there, but my point is, I think compared to the three kids later on, I think we can safely say these.
Compared to those guys, yeah, sure.
That's what I'm trying to nail down here.
Like I said, Dragon, this kid is like he's more like kind of like the. I get the sense that this kid's just a punk that came from a rich family.
Well, like a moderately rich family with a restaurant. Yes. By the way, we might want to switch images here. By the way.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
I don't want to repeat that. Okay. Let's see. So what was he? Right. All right. So Kim she's preparing young David here with the tie. I love the tie gag. Right. I think the idea is like she borrowed one of Jimmy's ties.
Oh, I'm sure that's the gag. Yeah.
She borrowed one of Jimmy's ties, like you put on the kid because he doesn't own a tie, and she had to tie it for him probably. And of course, like she ties it too tight, like a little tight. Good, we'll deal with it. It's like Kim Wexler. She's again. Ray Seahorn is just one of the gifts of this show. She really is. Like I gotta. Look, this is gonna sound like I'm overblowing it, but I think she earns a lot of this praise, as we said from the very beginning. She's the soul of this show. Would you agree? Is that in the stretch? She's kind of like the heart.
She's the soul of the show, especially in season 4.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where like we know that it's not gonna last, and we're just like we're all on pins and needles, like on the edge of our seats, like, oh my god, can't this just last a little longer? You know what I mean?
In the grand scheme of things, Tiki, again, I'm like, I don't know, because we love both of these characters. She is kind of the Farmiga of the show, that we know her time on this earth is not forever.
Oh, sure.
Now, I'm not saying Kim's gonna die. We don't know what's gonna happen to Kim. We don't know.
I still very much hold to my Nebraska theory.
I want your theory to come true, by the way. I'm just saying we don't know 100%. For all we know, if they really want to be blood again, they almost killed her off that one season with a car accident. So you never know. So the point is, so Kim, she's back in the courtroom as we teased last episode. She's kind of working through her kind of like Jimmy kind of lounging around phase from season 2. She's kind of doing that. She's exploring her legal options. As a PD right now, as a public defender. So she's working at a negotiation, kind of negotiating a plea deal with DDA Oakley. And we like Bill Oakley, right?
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with him, but I like what I've seen.
I was saying he's a running gag. I think he's in every season. He's like the running cameo. Sure. He's kind of the Ratzenberg for each season almost. Price is more of a Ratzenberg, to be fair. Price doesn't show up this season, then they break the trend. But wait a minute, he didn't show up till the second season. Never mind about that. Point is, Oakley's in every season, so it's kind of nice to see him pop up at that PD courtroom. So they're negotiating the plea. The kid. I love that we said the kid is absolutely guilty on this. The kid threw a cinder block through a jewelry store window.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy might look a little bit more like clean cut than the punk kids we see later, but that's a pretty damn serious offense. You got to admit.
To be fair, it's not having sex with the head like the first episode. So.
Okay, yeah, sure, but what is?
God. Anyway, still like Gilligan came up with that. By the way, it still cracks me. Anyway, so the point is, so Kim. Well, let's wait till we get inside the courtroom a little bit here for the whole Kim of it all. For the side of that here, let's just. She's negotiating. She wants 6 months probation, time served, no jail. As in, like, so the kid's his 6 months probation is the jail time. Essentially, that's what she wants. And let's see. Of course, we have this fun line from Oakley here, where it says, "And I want, I want to breed labradoodles." You know, he's just like, okay, that's not going to happen. See, Kim is asking for the moon here, but we don't know that Kim has a trump card here. Kim, she slyly points out that her ace in the hole here is that the DA's office and the DA's office and the police department, they screwed up majorly on this when they were interviewing the kid, the cop who arrested him. He took his statement, the first part of his statement, before Mirandizing him. Basically, they got him in the interrogation room before realizing he hasn't been Miranda'd or reminded of his rights. So he took his statement and wrote it down. Presumably wrote it down. He might have said it. I don't know. Which means that all the, again, this is Kim turning the legalese, making it very binding and very gloom and doom to any DDA prosecuting the case here. Is that all the evidence you collect is in the cinder block. All of that, everything that he copped to, is based on on someone who has been Mirandized. It's based on evidence. It's tainted evidence, essentially, which is not good. And the fact of the matter is, and this is where she really gets him here, Oakley knew about this. His office knew about this, and they did nothing, which kind of proves really unfortunate for them. Which basically would make him look very stupid in front of the judge. It's egg on his face. Kim basically is playing legal chicken with him up until the courtroom. Like, they're in the courtroom, like the judge is like,
chicken with me. I invented chicken.
I mean, I love that. Like, they're doing this to the very last second. That's the cool. That's like shows you how ballsy Kim Wexler is, and I love it. Like, she's in the courtroom, like, no, I'm not blinking. Like Jimmy McGill, he'll like do a song and dance around the guy, which we've seen. We've seen him deal with Oakley, and Jimmy, like, he's the sly negotiator trying to like tap into. There's a bond there, and Kim's like, okay, you and me. No, I'm business wise. I have the high ground here. I can use it against you. I don't have to. You know, it's like she's the sly negotiator. Jimmy's the song and dance man.
Oh yeah.
Love it. So again, reading into that, Kim mentions that she wants the kid to turn his life around. That's what she thinks she can make happen. That's why she's going to bat for the kid. She mentions something to that effect, and what she speaks to is that, him going to prison won't help with any of that. He'll fall in with the wrong people. He won't have any, basically his life will be ruined. There would be no chance of rehabilitation. Now, my read on this, Tiki, and I think you and I are going to be simpatico on this, is that she's saving another slipping Jimmy, like she did when he was in trouble with the bar association with Chuck. And again, she tried that case. Like, she was, he was the co-counsel on that case. She's trying to save Jimmy in the way that she's been trying to save Jimmy this whole season. But again, even so, when Chuck was around. So again, she has a soft spot for the slipping Jimmys of the world, which, as you mentioned, is kind of a weakness for Kim, which may be exploited, which could be big problems for her and Jimmy's relationship. Am I we're close on that?
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Okay. So let's see. So, of course, mentions that this is she has DDO. Basically, she starts to raise. Okay, 4 months, because you're annoying me. Like, 4 months? Are you insane? I can't make 4 months work. And this is, look, I have all the time in the world. Like, I could keep you busy with this for months. I have all the time in the world. My only client is a bank. Of course, like, bank's all about waiting around and filing through paperwork. So you have all the time in the world. It's like the worst thing. It's like it's the gutsiest chicken statement you can make. My other client is a bank. Of course, leads to a victory for Kim. Big time.
Really quick, I love the body language when he's like, all right, fine, 1 year jail time. And she just shakes her head. She's like, nope.
Basically, in the end, I think she settles on 6 months, doesn't she?
Yeah, settles on 6 months, yeah.
Initially, she was going to be threatening with 4, and then she ended up on 6, which is exactly what she wanted. 6 months, no jail time served, all that stuff. So Kim, at the end, again, success for Kim Wexler. She just starts the case again. Only Kim Wexler is good enough. Or Jimmy's afraid of getting into a trial. Kim Wexler, she gets it right off the bat. Like, okay, we don't have a problem here because I just settled it with this guy. We're all good. Kim, she gets the tie back. I love her getting the tie back. By the way, I just love her. Like, wait a minute, that's my tie. Give me that. She spells out the. I believe you want to take the reins on this one.
Let's see. She
spells it out to the kid here. She chastises the kid.
Oh, well, I mean, really quick, we get her paralegal, like, rushing her through traffic, and then we have this, David has the dumbest fucking line, man. I just want to slap this kid. I just want to shake him and be like, this woman gave you your life back on a silver platter. Where David is basically like, oh, great. I have to fucking be followed around by a probation officer for 6 months. Thanks a lot, Miss Wexler, essentially.
I don't think he go. Well, he starts off. I don't think
he doesn't go as far as thanks a lot, Miss Wexler, but that's basically his tone.
Essentially, but Kim picks up on the subtext there. She says, "Okay, hey, look, listen to me.
So I've got the speech word for word if you want it.
Okay, go on.
All right, David, listen to me. Here's what you're gonna do. Today, after you leave here, you will go straight to your grandpa's restaurant. You will beg him for a job, any job. If he tells you to scrub the grill, you scrub the grill. If he tells you to clean the toilet, you clean the toilet. You will show up on time. You will smile. You will say please and thank you. You will keep your nose clean. You understand? Because if you don't, you will go to jail. Grown-up jail with grown-up bad guys. Picture that, David. Really picture it.
So yeah, I mean, Tiki, what I really...
And know this. I'm not going to do a damn thing about it next time. You got it? All right, go ahead.
Right, so again, Tiki, this is what I'm saying. At the end of this scene, it really dawned on me, and I could be reading into this, I really like to think this is intentional, that this kid is an easy version of Jimmy's situation, where the whole, like, if you have to do this, you're going to do this. You know, if you have to basically take all these crappy odd jobs, you're going to do that. And that's exactly what Jimmy's doing this season, is taking these odd jobs. And a part of me would like to think, and again, part of me would like to think that Jimmy is serving as Kim's legal inspiration. That's kind of what's fueling her to take the PD work. Because again, one, she's going to the PD level, which Jimmy started off as. And two, again, she's working these plea deals, which is what she did for Jimmy. So again, in the way that Jimmy is attaching all of his actions by Kim's reaction to him, Kim is dictating her, her figuring herself out by what she did for Jimmy. So I like that the other person in the relationship is on the other person's mind through whatever arc they're going through this season. So I like they're doing an unhealthy thing where they're attaching their expectations for a job based on that other person. Like Kim, she's taking a big professional step back. More fulfilling, maybe, but a professional step, because she has easy money right now with Mesa Verde.
Yep.
And again, Jimmy, of course, he's doing an unhealthy thing where he's making Kim the new Chuck, and he's just a part of him deep down, I wonder, is waiting for Kim, because Jimmy doesn't think he deserves Kim Wexler. It's kind of the thing that we really hit on this episode. And it makes you wonder if maybe that's like him, again, making her the new Chuck in his life. Of like, I'm waiting for her to turn on me like Chuck did, because the people I love in my life are going to turn on me at the end of the day. So I wonder how much of that's factored into the plotting this season. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay, so let's see. So again, we've set up Kim helping youth, helping young people, and of course the flip side of this later on is going to be Jimmy being abused by bad youth. And again, literally the thing that Kim talked up here, like she's worried about this kid's going to become a bad kid. Of course, we're going to see those bad kids later on. So, using the circa 2003 guide, which I can attest to, by the way. I remember this thing like with the back like it was yesterday.
Oh, I very much do too.
Because now, folks, we have guides.
I actually watch TV.
This is how I watched. God, it wasn't not Boomerang, but it was Nickelodeon. They had a Nickelodeon Disney Channel. They had like basically what we have now, but they had like an early version of it back then. It was like kind of like the Nicktoons network, and it was like the Disney XD, but it was the prototype version of that they had. Like all like the hundreds versions of channels. That's kind of what they had. That's kind of what those TVs had a guide. You had basically a little guide button you could push. And that's pretty much what Jimmy has now. He's looking at the guide like, hey, what's going to be on? It's such an advent of like, look, it's the guide before we're going to have it easily 10 years later.
Well, I mean, I vividly remember doing exactly what Jimmy's doing, like, going down the row and just being like, next.
Yep.
Next. Ooh, there's something.
Oh yeah, I remember looking for my favorites doing that.
Yeah. Like hoping that I come upon like reruns of The Simpsons or something like that.
Looking for Cat Dog like there's no tomorrow.
Oh, God.
So anyway, Jimmy finds Dr. Zhivago. Of course, this is kind of a fun little line. It's going to make me think if I was adorable. Like, Kim West is attracted to men in the snow.
God.
That was adorable. So anyway, she's busy with Mesa Verde stuff, and Tiki. This is the most relatable thing in the episode to me. Just when you're watching something, well, there's someone else in the room who's busy with something, and
Oh
they're
yeah, big time.
been there so many times.
The person insists, like, no, it's fine, it's totally fine.
The difference
But
is,
in your mind, you're just like, are they just being polite? It's like a battle going on in your head, Dragon.
and I had the thing where then I'm pressured to select things that everybody in the room would like, despite the fact that other person is not listening. At least they say they're not. It's like, darn it, now there's pressure. So the point is, so Jimmy's watching Dr. Zhivago here as Kim is working on Mesa Verde stuff, saying, no, it's fine. I can work while you watch TV. And Jimmy feels guilty and he leaves with kind of the excuse of he has work to do, which again, and this is important, Tiki. Jimmy still hasn't necessarily lied to her yet this season.
Necessarily, yeah.
He said he had work to do. He's
drawing a very fine line at this point, but
you see, we're stepping on the line with this one. Before it was like he was going to cross the line. It's like, no, I can't cross that line. Now he's walking the line. And I don't know. I think next episode, I think he's going to cross that line. I don't know.
Well, honestly, Dragon, I feel like this episode he crossed a line, but we'll get there.
I'd make an argument that we'll get there. I'm sorry. Yes, the point is, so Jimmy, he makes an excuse that he has to go out for work. Jimmy, and again, this is what I was speaking of, like directly this right now. Jimmy doesn't feel he deserves Kim, and he's putting any blame in a situation onto himself. Like, okay, I'm distracting Kim watching this, so I got to take myself out of the situation, and again, I got to fuel my. Again, retroactively, this episode's so fantastic on rewatch. We know exactly why he's doing what he's doing right now. He's trying to fuel the big Jimmy Kim dream right now, which of course we're going to talk about at the very end of the episode. So that's another reason he's getting out there and working all hours of the night right now. And I think at the end of the day, he wants to make her proud
of her boy.
Proud of your boy. Yes, son. No, but seriously, I think a lot of the season he just wants to make Kim proud. And of course, given what we know at the end here, I think that's the big. If you have like one direction of Jimmy this season, it's like he wants to make Kim proud.
No, I feel you.
With his big plan, of course, and of course this leads to why Jimmy's doing his side scams with the jobs. It's to fuel this plan that he has this whole season. So, the question. Here's a fan theory kind of dawned on me. I gotta get your thoughts on this. Tell me this. I wonder, is Kim distracted by Jimmy leaving, or whether it's the Zhivago or like Jimmy leaving? The point is this whole thing of Jimmy leaving, this whole scene. Is Kim distracted in this moment, and is that distraction the Mesa Verde trouble that's created in the episode?
You know what, Dragon? I don't really look too much into the Mesa Verde mistake, just because Paige kind of. We'll get there, but Paige kind of very much illustrates that the issue isn't the mistake itself, it's how Kim handles the mistake. So I honestly do think, if anything, I feel like the mistake is a byproduct of her spending so much time in the, as a public defender.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think the Dr. Zhivago or Jimmy going out thing had anything to do with it, honestly.
Well, that's fair. I see your point. I'd be inclined to agree with it. I'm echoing kind of the devil's advocate here, because what if it was Jimmy? Basically, again, not just specifically this incident, just the whole thing. Like Kim's been distracted by Jimmy, hence the whole PD work thing. Like her mind's on.
Yeah, sure.
But regardless, I think I can see your point there. I think you might be on the money with that. So anyway, so it's like a what if, Anyway, so Jimmy, he bought. And I love this is a thing I completely missed on the first watch. I mean, I don't know if it was there, but I didn't quite get the cleverness of it here, because I was wondering this on the rewatch. Like, I wonder if Jimmy did buy. Like, is Jimmy going to be in hot water because of what happened with the burner phones? But we realize here is that Jimmy. He goes to the CC Mobile store. He buys. He rings up all the burner phones. So he's paid for these burner phones out of his pocket. You see him get for the money in his wallet. He pays for these burner phones at the retail price, whatever. So he pays for them first, so he's not up the river if anything happens to him. And he keeps the receipts, which means it's off the books, because who else? No copies of the receipts. He has all the original receipts, so his inventory is just going to be gone, and as if whether he sold them or just like, okay, they didn't come in or something, He's covering his base.
Question, though, Dragon, with these receipts that we might see pay off is literally all these receipts are going to be printed out at about the same time. So to me, the question becomes, like, when you print out these receipts, is there a printout of the time on them?
What I'm saying, Tiki, is I think he's taking the only copy of the receipt, which means like there's no, there's no record of it anywhere.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, because you would give the receipt to the customer. Sure. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like he's making sure he's not knowing it, and he's not making copies of the receipts. He's just making the receipts, and he's taking them. So
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what I think he's doing anyway.
Now, Dragon, correct me if I'm wrong. So he pays for the receipts out of pocket. So that means that sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. That means that basically, like, all the money, like, there's no way that what happens to him is going to get him reprimanded at work, right?
That's what I'm saying. He's covering his tracks really well, and he paid like all the money. Like if they did an inventory, the money for those phones did go into the register, and the customers who feasibly came in, who we can quote unquote came in, have their receipts. So it all checks out.
All
right. Anyway, at least feasibly, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think he covered his tracks. At least that's what they're saying, that he could feasibly cover his tracks. So with the box, it basically has this giant box of burner phones. Jimmy drives around. He's trying to sell them to ABQ's, Albuquerque's shadiest, if you will. His first stop is outside the wash tub laundry, which, little fun fact, this is a location from Breaking Bad. Jesse Pinkman, during one of the meth montages, I don't know if it was from season 1 or 2, but during a montage where Jesse Pinkman selling meth, he was selling at the wash tub laundromat. And we have these 3 punk teens outside. And they write Jimmy off very foolishly as a narc with a fake car, because it's like, you really think a narc would be driving this? And he says, "Oh yeah, got it from an impound lot." Yeah, screw you, man. So then this leads Jimmy to take a trip to the nail salon.
Yeah,
which leads to Saul Goodman's closet.
God,
it's all tropical in my Saul Goodman's closet. Anyway, so we deal with the giant closet full of all the very colorful, very unique and diverse Saul Goodman outfits and attire. We then get to the great, we do a fantastic montage.
I feel like this is the first truly great montage of the season, Dragon. They've kind of built up to this one.
Which I'll remind you, in the Rebecca episode, we had the Kim Wexler, the My Way montage, when she gets the Mesa Verde client in the first place. That was a really great montage. Again, kind of something the writer has in common. Yeah, we have Street Life, which many people remember from Jackie Brown. There was another movie they directly pulled this from, but I don't know it off the top of my head. They mentioned it in the Insider podcast. But again, Street Life was also used in Jackie Brown. So, which again, Jackie Brown feels very Better Call Saul-esque, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone who has not seen it, just
so basically, to condense this, Jimmy's just going up to a variety of colorful characters at the doghouse that we've already established as kind of like the criminal hangout in the ABQ verse. Which
also is where Jimmy and Kim celebrated the beginning of Wexler McGill, which I think is important.
Good call. Let's see. Any
Jimmy's in the track.
One specifically point out, Dragon. I think this would be a good spot to kind of abbreviate the podcast a little bit.
Gotcha. Well, just to put it simply, Jimmy's in the tracksuit that Saul Goodman has. That's kind of Saul Goodman's casual wear.
I really like the guy with the fake arm.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was the guy with the prosthetic arm. Yeah.
All right.
So just to put it simply, Jimmy's in the tracksuit, which we've been teasing up in the promos and everything for the season. So he's going to be wearing these tracksuits this season. The idea is that Saul Goodman wears this as his casual wear in Breaking Bad. Like when Jesse Pinkman's in the hospital after he was beaten up by Hank Schrader, Saul kind of shows up in the dead of night wearing the tracksuit. That looks almost identical to this one. It was a different color, but it was the same sort of tracksuit. So, he sells all sorts of different people. Like they have this gag with the girl with the mohawk. You got we imply some drug dealers. We have the pimped out car, which is kind of a very light Tuco homage, like the car that
Yes. I'm glad you point that out.
It's a kind of a vague homage to Grilled with the car that kind of goes up and down. Little hydraulics built into it. Let's see. Oh yes, and we got
kind of like very, very subtle fan service that I appreciate, Dragon.
We have the one of my favorite device of the montage as a whole, aside from the really great music choice. Music choice has been on fire this season. Really great music choices. I love the psychedelic neon in the puddle ripple effect. That was great. We saw the Doghouse's neon sign reflected in this puddle that Jimmy kept, like Jimmy moving across the puddle creates this ripple effect. It's very psychedelic and cool and 70s-esque. Really neat.
Uh-huh.
So we have a lot of these trunk POV shots of the trunk opening and more people and different people and more diverse people buying from Jimmy. So everybody then flees. Now this is such a great bait and switch tease, Tiki. I love like this.
Yep. I'm glad you and I are simpatico on this one, Dragon.
This subversion is wonderful, and I love this. So we have everybody starts to flee after Jimmy makes a sale. After like all umpteenth sale, these bikers arrive.
And you see Jimmy's perspective on it. He's he's in the car, and he sees the bikers arrive, and you see on Odenkirk's face, he's like really worried about this, and the audience is like, oh my god, like is this going to be like a is he going to get jumped by all these bikers? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, what I thought was going to happen is the bikers were basically going to be like, hey, this is our territory. You know,
yeah.
It's going to be like a stay out of our territory type moment.
Maybe. Yeah. So Jimmy's issue this season takes over. This is the issue that Jimmy's facing here. He's pushing past the line and he takes a gamble, which again, as we've seen with with the Bavarian boy with Neff copiers, we saw him do this moment before. It's kind of like his Back to the Future chicken moment in a way. It's sort of that moment where like he could just walk away right now, and again, he won the job.
Dragon, I feel like according to the Insider podcast, what happens next is maybe one of the most pivotal things that happens to Jimmy the entire season. So this is a turning point, Dragon. This truly is a turning point for Jimmy. If he this is like a domino effect, right? If he would have just gotten in that car and driven away, maybe Wexler McGill would still happen. You know what I mean?
Maybe. So, well, then again, I don't know, and maybe it wouldn't have, because this kind of leads to the fire on that. You don't know. We don't know 100%. You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm just saying now you put that on, just kind of think about it, like, well, maybe not. Anyway, so we have this great foreshadow to the danger of the next scene, though. Again, the great subversion of all here, where we tease. Now, folks, again, I've seen varieties of bikers, Tiki. I usually see friendly bikers, but again, we've seen cases
as far as I know, the Hells Angels now, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's branches of the Hells Angels that you don't want to fuck with, I'm sure. But nowadays, I associate the Hells Angels more with charity work, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I remember when we were doing Daredevil season 2, and we had the Dogs of Hell biker gang. I was like, oh my god, mean bikers! I never imagined there were mean bikers, because again, I've seen nothing but pleasant bikers.
Right.
So I mean, that's the thing. We don't know. This could go either way. So going into this, I was on the edge of my seat. Oh no, are they gonna be? I don't know. They're giving Jimmy some mean looks here. I don't know. So we have this tense scene of it sounds so wussy right now. So we have this tense scene as Jimmy walks up to these bikers, and it's a 50-50 shot of nice bikers here. He exchanges some pleasantries, and it's like, oh boy, Jimmy's in an unholy land here, something bad might happen to him. But then he spots the leader eating. I love how this teak is so great in the direction here. The one guy sitting and eating obviously is the leader, so he directs his questions to the leader. He pitches. He recognizes the jail tattoos from Las Lunas, and correctly it's Las Cruces. One off, yeah. Anyway, so he then gives the sales pitch of the ex-lawyer, emphasis on ex-lawyer. And basically, he sells them on a very useful element of the burner phones, and they're really good for keeping in contact with people on the inside, like from his Las Cruces pals. And basically gives them the whole cell what the burner phone is, et cetera, et cetera. And everything, it goes great. And of course, it is kind of a vague foreshadow, kind of, again, like the grilled homage. We have kind of a little homage to what happens in Breaking Bad Season 5 of the prison. The big prison payoff, the whole gliding over all of it.
A tiny bit, yeah.
I'm the same with keep the inside jobs in prison and stuff. We kind of vaguely allude to that. So anyway, then we have this. Here's the thing to me. I might be silly with this here. So again, everything goes great. He sold them to the leader of the biker gang. They're all like, "Hey, take care, guys." Jimmy's eating a hot dog. So basically, Jimmy has a victory hot dog, and I believe that it'd be crazy. I think that victory hot dog cost him big time.
I could see that. I could see that.
I blame it on the
Again,
victory.
I think more blatantly what they're going for is him going back to sell the few remaining phones is what cost him. But...
No, you're right. It is. I'm just saying, it's like literally. Because think about it, no one would pull this thing when you
Look, on a
just sold.
thematic level.
No, I'm just saying, think of it. You sell all those phones, and then you get out of there while the bikers are still around. No one's going to make a move against you. I'm just saying, if he hadn't,
good point. That's a good point.
What I'm saying, but he got the hot dog. That was like the hot dog of pride, like the sin of pride in the form of a hot dog, Tiki.
Oh God.
It was. It was the sin of pride.
Oh man.
I mean, Vince Gilligan's always been joking about. He just sits on set when he directs having a hot dog or having a sandwich, and it's like literally that's what
Vince Gilligan loves the sandwiches specifically.
Yeah.
Which honestly, Dragon, I'm one of those people that kind of considers a hot dog a sandwich, anyways.
Nah, I'm not. Hot dogs. I'm sorry. Let's not get into a food debate here. I'm sorry.
Right.
Anyway, so we have the three punks from earlier, the three punk kids. They come back, and of course, Jimmy. Now, this is very important. Jimmy misreads these guys. Jimmy sees these three kids. He assumed they were like the Skater twins. We're like, okay, they're scam artists, like kids on running a corner. For all he knows, maybe drug dealers. He doesn't know. He just misreads them as scam artists, like rival scam artists. And what they do, however, is they beat and rob poor Jimmy.
And honestly, Dragon, this scene,
it was hard to watch. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I was more or less screaming it. I mean, not literally, but like inside, I was just like, "Fuck!" And honestly, Dragon, a big part of that is because I missed the whole detail of him putting the cash in the register. So I thought that the money that he lost was literally the money for the phones. So I thought he was going to get like seriously reprimanded for again, Dragon. I keep expecting him to get reprimanded at the cell phone job, but in 2 episodes it hasn't.
I mean, Tiki, I gotta tell you, like, there's only one hole in the receipt thing, but I don't know if I'm. Here's the thing: I think the receipt thing saved him because again, he had the receipts. I'm not sure exactly. I might be Here's the thing: I don't know if he kept the receipts or if he put them on file. The point is, there are existing receipts, which means he's either covered or he's hiding them. The point is, I think he's covered with the receipts. I think he's recovered the whole transaction. I think, but I could be missing something. But the point is, I was with you the first watch. I thought he was a little screwed with that too, but
yeah, but more Bob Odenkirk, man. I mean, as you said, Dragon, hard to watch. That's the best term for it.
You know what's funny? He's all game for that though, because he loves it when he gets to do that. So whenever Jimmy's facing punishment, or like he's in a dumpster, or if he's getting kicked around like that physically, he likes it because it's knowing what happens, knowing he becomes Saul Goodman makes it all worth that. It makes you care about Jimmy and makes you like, oh yeah, he's gonna be doing something.
Oh, I can totally see that, Dragon. As I said, this is almost like I get the sense that scene is like the heart of the season in some ways.
That's the thing. Like, he wants to sell the likability of Jimmy McGill at all costs, knowing that he becomes Saul Goodman. So that's why he lives for those moments. So like when they're shooting, that's like okay, like it's like yeah, kick me again, do it. So poor Jimmy, he's been beaten and taken for all of his money. Again, he's out of the woods. Seemingly, he's out of the woods with the season, but still, he's like all of his money. Basically, it was all for nothing. Essentially, all of it. Then Kim is woken up by the beaten Jimmy McGill, kind of tending to his wounds in the bathroom. He apologizes for waking her up, and we see Kim. Like, oh my god, I love Ray Sealand so much. And it's like the first Superman movie. It's like Superman 78. That movie depends on that relationship, and this series depends on this relationship. You know, it's like Jim and Kimmy, like these two people so in love with each other, and Kim like concerned over Jimmy. Oh my god, what happened to you? And again, Tiki, this is what I'm talking about. He's not necessarily lying. He did get mugged.
Yeah, he did get mugged. He was at the doghouse.
And he didn't lie about the hours. I worked there longer than I should have.
The moment where it draws the line, Dragon. Well, we'll get there. I'll build to it.
So Kim, she grabs some ice. You grab some. It's either iodine. It looks like peroxide, but I think it's roughly the same purpose, I guess. Peroxide. You do peroxide in open wounds to kind of fix them faster, I believe. I love Tiki. I don't know if you caught. I'm going to be reading this. I love the little motion where he flips the cap open. Tiki, I think it's like the smallest detail we've ever mentioned. He flips the cap open on the peroxide, as like a little coupley thing. Like, hey, I'm helping out too. He's like flips the cap open. Actually, it's like it's like a little couple thing, you know?
Right. I love that you mentioned that, Dragon. That's great. That's great. That's such a little detail.
By the way, little detail. I mean, kicking myself because I'm sorry, I'm gonna save it for spec because it's too
Okay.
small and I want to derail this. I'll save it for spec. Remind me of something for spec. All right, just remind me of like bring up my little thing for spec. All right.
Okay.
So yes, again, like flipping open the little cap, and she's putting the iodine and or the peroxide in there, cleaning the wounds, and he has this beautiful bit here where like he's looking. I love this mirror. I love how this mirror frames it and explains his gag here. It says, "Look like a Matthew Brady photo," and and it's kind of this adorable little moment where we see Jimmy hurt at such a low point. He has a realization about himself here, where he says, "I misread those." And again, I think he's being absolutely honest with Kim here. He's basically echoing. He's not lying. He's just basically telling her all the stuff of like, okay, this is how Jimmy feels. I feel this hurts him more than the beating does. I really got the sense of that. This is what really brings Jimmy to rock bottom than having his money stolen. It's like what got his money stolen. It's the fact that
No, I absolutely agree with you, Dragon. It's definitely a pride thing.
Again, like Jimmy McGill, season 1, episode 1 with the Skater Twins, he sniffed those guys out like without hesitation. Now, in this case, he just completely misread the situation with these kids. It's basically he made an amateur mistake for slipping Jimmy King, the Paul Bunyan, by his own admission here, the Paul Bunyan of the con men. And he misread the kids. And I think the point is Jimmy's realizing that he's off his game post Chuck because he's not dealing with Chuck. He's off his game, and basically him being off his game, he equates to maybe Kim is right. There's some merit to all this being about me not dealing with Chuck, and basically Jimmy asking the bit. I think character-wise, Tiki, he's asking the bigger question: what am I doing if I'm not? And this is what's getting us to the big Saul Goodman tipping point of it all, and hence the reason we have the opening with Saul Goodman. I think the grander arc of Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman is he's getting a new perspective of asking himself the deeper fundamental question that he should be asking a therapist, I guess, but he's asking himself here. If I'm not slipping Jimmy, who am I? As in, if I've lost my touch to slipping Jimmy, that's my whole identity without Chuck. If I'm not Jimmy McGill and I'm not slipping Jimmy, who am I? Of course, the answer is Saul Goodman.
All right,
we're kind of setting up
a moment that it's like the Kim's like, well, he's saying like back in the day when I was slipping Jimmy, I would have gotten the jump on those guys. They would have known not to mess with me, because I was one of them. And Kim is basically just like, well, those days are over. And you see so much pain. Dragon, what I'm fascinated with this whole line to Kim dynamic that's kind of permeating through the season. Obviously, Jimmy, slipping Jimmy in particular, not afraid to lie. Like he will lie in a heartbeat. But with Kim, it's an entirely different story. It hurts his soul to lie to Kim. And I find that dichotomy fascinating.
That's Tiki. That's an absolutely fair point. I see what you're saying. I got to tell you, though, I wonder, again, I think he's absolutely walking the line. You're right. This is very much, I mean, it's a close thing.
He kind of says, yeah,
But again, with that fundamental question of like, I tried being slipping Jimmy and it failed, so maybe he still is like, no, I'm not slipping Jimmy. I'm not him anymore. So I don't know. I think he's seeing inner truth there. I don't know. I think it's walking the line to say the least. I think you're right. I mean, again, I think you're absolutely right. Even that walking on a line lie with that is like it does hurt him because he takes that beat. There is some pain there with that line. So I don't think you're far off. But I still like that he's kind of becoming unbalanced as he's walking that line.
Like basically, what he does to not lie is change the subject. That's the only thing that gets him out of it.
True, he does. And again, that's kind of it's somewhat of a skeevy thing to do, but. Again, here's the thing. I don't think the excuse is in line because I truly believe he intended on calling that therapist, that shrink.
Well, we'll break it down because
we will.
Yeah.
The point is, Jimmy says that he plans on calling the shrink tomorrow. So so tomorrow arrives. Jimmy's removing the paint from the window. So seemingly,
in my opinion, because again, I was worried about his manager coming by and being like, what the hell is this? You didn't approve of this.
I gotta tell you, I gotta go back and watch episode 4 again because I'm just trying to think of if that was if when he painted that thing if it was the same day or not. Because if no, it's even just one day, even technically. That's the thing. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 days. It's even less of a.
I'm pretty sure he does it overnight because he meets up with Ira. Ira gives him the idea, and then I'm pretty sure overnight the paint job gets done.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I think you're right because Mike was a night scene when he was meeting with friends, so that had to be night. So anyway, and at points, I think you're right. It has to be 2 days. And minimum is 2 days. Anyway, so luckily again that is a dead store, so barely anyone comes by, and the owner didn't show up. So again, he's removing the paint. He just kind of lucked out on that one. So remove the paint. Seemingly he's avoided all ramifications, which again could go out the window for all we know, based on the ending of the episode. We'll see. Again, it would seem that he's making a healthy choice now that he's kind of put the slipping Jimmy days behind him. He's either making a healthy choice if you describe to him planning on seeing the shrink, or he's covering his tracks.
I would say it's the latter.
I kind of think it's both. More so, I character-wise, I like the thing as the first one, but again, either or works. I suppose more so latter. Yeah, the latter is definitely. I think the latter is a benefit. So Jimmy removes the paint. Kim visits Denise.
Yep.
Right, so she visits Denise. Denise fears jail. She's afraid to go in the jail. Kim very calmly, wonderfully, she explains what a bench warrant is, and that basically bench warrant means for sure you're going to jail because you screwed around with the judge. This is your first offense, and you only had 2 ounces. Basically means she has a chance, which means
I assume this is a drug possession charge based on what they're saying.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
So
basically she kind of it's
kind of funny the whole the idea of jail time for drug possession because obviously we don't know exactly what she was charged with, but if it's marijuana, Dragon, my God, times have changed.
Well, again, you remember it's 2003, way before.
That's what I'm saying. So that's like a time capsule, man. It really is.
I mean, with ounces mentioned, you'd think marijuana, but I mean, again,
right.
Marijuana possibly.
Nowadays, I believe you can carry an ounce on you with absolutely no ramifications whatsoever. They can't do shit.
Right.
So it's it's kind of crazy how things have changed like that.
Right. So the point is, it's a really nice, quiet, uplifting scene for Kim. By the way, it's really it's a really nice, calm scene. Like, oh man, Kim's a great public defender. I gotta guess, it's kind of like it's kind of like the That Girl spinoff for Kim Wexler. I'm kind of down for. By the way, it's Kim Wexler, public defender. I'm down for that show. It's like a little mini series, She's making her way down. Anyway, so
it would basically be like the Kim Wexler equivalent of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Essentially,
we're gonna make it after all.
And of course, basically the original.
The freeze frame of her throwing the hat in the air.
See, here's what they do, Tiki. Okay, originally the plot of Mary Tyler Moore was that she was going to be divorced from Dick Van Dyke. And they couldn't have her divorced because, again, people would have associated, you can't do divorce, let alone people are going to assume it's going to be Dick Van Dyke she divorced from. And again, what if it was like, okay, the end of the relationship between Jim and Kim is the is the beginning of her spinoff. She's separated from Jimmy, and now.
But the funny thing is, her spinoff is legitimately the sitcom single camera format thing that we expected Better Call Saul to be.
Oh my God! It should have a laugh track too.
Yes. Oh my God. All right, we're going way too deep cuts with this.
Better Text Wex is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Oh God.
Anyway, getting back on point here. Sorry, oh my God! Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trailing off.
All right.
About to say, I'm about to do all these side characters she can meet. Anyway,
you have to focus, Dragon. Focus.
Anyway, so who calls?
Yes. Paige calls. Says there's a big to do. Basically, it's like a misfiling, right, or something like that.
Yes, there was a mistake on the filing, and they need Kim to amend it. And ordinarily Kim be there in a heartbeat, which is okay. Look, I'm in the middle of something right now. I can meet you at 4, and usually that's amenable to Kevin and Paige, but Paige is like saying, no, yeah, I really need you for this now. And Kim makes a big boo boo here legally. Here, she makes a big job boo boo here. She hangs up on Paige. Of course, Paige and Kevin walked out like the coolest employers ever. By the way, and you never want to treat these guys.
And like, of course, the actress who plays Paige was on the Better Call Saul Insider podcast this week. And I got to admit, Drake, I'm fascinated by like the layers of complexity to the the Kim, Paige, Kevin trifecta. It's like that. Like that could be a whole show unto itself.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I caught this on a rewatch. There was a little name drop too. It was for the Mesa Verde branch in Denver. Kind of a correlation between the Denver stuff with Mike's story and the Denver stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a big correlation. They're a little fun fact. So then now Kim again, like she's kind of put her foot in the sand there, and she's kind of I think it's kind of dawning on her in the moment what she's done mentally. Okay, Denise, it's time. Get your hands. We gotta go. So then we see the ramifications of Kim. Presumably, as soon as she could, she's arrived at Mesa Verde. She apologized, and Paige confronts her. You take us through the scene.
Yeah, Paige confronts her. Kim wants to apologize to Kevin in person if he's available, and he's not. And Dragon, let's just like imagine like a scenario where Kevin's like, Kim, at first I thought of you as a little baby bird with a broken wing, but now I'm so mad at you, Kim. I want to break your wing myself.
Kim, you're just a jerk with a little broken wing right now.
God. Anyways. Oh man, I have a feeling that the baby bird with a broken wing thing is basically going to be Kevin's equivalent to muddying the waters. Anyways,
I just imagine. I'm sorry. I think it was on the Insider podcast they mentioned this with her. Basically, Kevin Wachtel is kind of he's like a kid who came from money and therefore is kind of a big kid because of the love of architecture and the love of the models and everything. So I'm just imagining Kevin Wachtel like just looking at the models all gleefully like, oh, look at those models, Paige. Kevin, Kim's here. It's just not right now.
Oh God! He's literally just up there observing the models. I love it.
Might be building some models too. Like, what is it, Paige? I'm trying to build this model here. Good old Rex Lynn. Anyway, so this is interesting, and I wonder that if this is going anywhere. Kim, Paige mentions to Kim that they fixed it already because they need it. One thing that Kim could have done took the entire floor of lawyers to do because they didn't have. Kim had all the files, and Viola didn't know where they were. So again, I think we see a big chink in Kim's armor that we've been kind of building to ever since the beginning, but we've never seen it capitalized on. Tiki. Kim Wexler's folly is that she wants to do everything herself. She's very reluctant to seek help, and in doing so, she opens herself up to, again, if she's in a position where she can't be there, then of course she's going to have egg on her face, which she does right now.
I mean, dare I say it, it's almost kind of like a Walter White pride thing in a way.
In a way, yes, absolutely. I mean, Kim Wexler definitely has the work ethic of Walter White, I think, to say the least. So, yes, and I love this. I was thinking this during the episode. I love that Paige called this back, and I love this. Paige called back that, hey, remember when you sold us as clients, you said Mesa Verde was your number one priority. You promised that we would be your priority. And again, like I was thinking that, like, yeah, Kim did promise that. It's like, oh boy, Kim's in hot water now. So she's been turned down to make an apology with Kevin. So Kim Wexler's left in a very precarious position. Like things are seemingly okay, but by the same token, it's like, okay, there's a lot.
Well, Dragon, I think that when Kim says it'll never happen again, she means it, and she means it because she intends to quit.
You know what, Tiki? I think you're right on the money with that. I didn't think of that because again, I was just swept up in like, oh, poor Kim. I think eventually, I wonder if Kim's going to get. I think she might get fired. Tiki. I don't know if she's going to quit because I worry that.
I honestly think the way things are going this season, I could see her quitting more than getting fired because you can just see her heart's just simply not in it.
I mean, that's the thing. Here's the thing. I expect Kim Wexler as a character that she would quit, but if the season's going to throw me for a loop, it's that what if she gets fired because she's divided between the two things, and what if it's like a messy breakup instead of like a parting of ways? That's the thing I'm wondering about.
I could see that.
That'll be heartbreaking. That'll be a big low of lows for Kim. If she doesn't break it off and it was broken off for her, then that's going to be her low point. It's going to be her version of the whole, like, if I'm not slipping Jimmy, who am I? That whole. So, Mike. I like Mike. Better than I like Ike, but I like Mike.
And I also like Werner, the new character.
Yes, Werner. Is it Werner or Werner?
I think it. Well, I just said it with a German. I think it's Werner.
That's the thing, because I was thinking about the inside part. It's like, did they pronounce it Werner? I mean, did I miss?
No, I just used the German thing, Dragon. It's Werner.
Oh, it's either way. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. So Werner Ziegler, he is our new engineer, potential engineer, who is transporting the van. This guy is a little more. I like the fact that the other guy is more like cinematic. Like the European was like he was like kind of a David Niven engineer almost, like like a Bondy or like kind of a Blake Edwards type. Like, okay, this guy's an expert with it. He's got a fancy mustache. He's gonna solve all their problems. Where we have Werner. Yeah, Warner's kind of like he's the neurotic. He's kind of the Woody Allen approach. He's kind of the nose to the grindstone. Like, okay, this guy is the more human approach here. He's getting motion sickness. He feels like he's gonna throw up. Like, oh god, I'm gonna throw up. And of course, I recommend that.
I strongly advise you not to.
I think what Mike means by this, if he throws up, then they have to stop the van, they have to clean it out, and they have to he can't take the hood off, and they have to make sure he closes his eyes, like it'll be a whole drawn out thing. So he gives them water when they arrive at the super lab, and basically say, "Oh god, that drain on me, and I try it every time, it doesn't work." So I love how neurotic and just how human this guy is.
Sure.
So Werner, he checks out the space, and I love visually what we say about this guy. He doesn't use all the fancy technology that the European did. He uses a flashlight and a notebook. Again, it's kind of the realistic. Again, this is kind of the classic. Again, kind of what we were saying earlier in the cold open. The approach between Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. We have the cinematic and we have the realistic, or kind of the finer detailed, if you will, like the smaller details versus kind of the big cinematic grand sweepingness of it all.
All right, so this guy's jotting notes down in a notebook, and he essentially goes through this ridiculously complicated monologue that, Drake, I feel like you and I really don't have the fortitude to cover all the details of it. But essentially, he's going into the complexities of what it would actually take to build the meth lab, and he's very concerned. He's just he almost thinks it's a joke how much work it would be. He's almost kind of laughing at himself when he's giving them the figures. But by the same token, he's very much laying it out in a professional manner. It's like, all right, you're gonna do this. You got to put in the beams. Then we're gonna dig and we're gonna hit the concrete. So boom, blast.
So he addresses that it would be very difficult. So then Fring emerges, and the fact
I love this, Dragon. I love that Fring doesn't just show his face to just anyone. I got to admit, this is a classic example of a Mike episode where the first half of the Mike stuff in this episode had me kind of scratching my head like, all right, it's cool that we're getting the meth lab, but what's really the point? And I think the whole point is just how professional and how meticulous Gus is, and how just basically seeing the same scene play out in two radically different ways. And I think that's super rewarding, especially on a rewatch.
Oh yeah. So essentially, Fring, he emerges and he questions again very directly if it's possible. So is it possible? Basically, so it's impossible.
Difficult? Yes. Dangerous? Yes. But not impossible.
And this answer, of course, it gets Fring. He extends his hand. Gustavo Fring. Again, he shares his name with the man.
Yeah.
Gustavo Fring. He welcomes him in German. Giancarlo Esposito speaking German. Then of course, Werner Ziegler. So let's see. So again, he picked the realist, and again, I think it's a very interesting choice for Gus Fring, and it does track with who again. Remember, Gus Fring is a character who sees things in people. Therefore, this guy, he kind of sees the kind of the
unpredictability. He doesn't like wild cards. He likes people that he can very much get under their thumbs and kind of control.
Think about it. He went to Walter White. He went to Gail Bedecker. He went to this guy. These are three people who are very kind of like they're human people. And of course, in the end, there were some reservations that came up with Walter White because he was acting unpredictably.
Of course.
So let's see. Jimmy returns to the courthouse. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh
Oh
boy! Oh
man,
boy! Oh
Dragon.
boy.
And of course, this whole time I was just like, I was praying. Like, as much as I was enjoying the Mike stuff, I was just like, God damn it, we better see Hamlin in this episode. It better not have been like a this season on Better Call Saul, not a next week on Better Call
I
Saul.
mean, Tiki, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Of course, this episode, the biggest thing I was looking forward to in this episode was this Hamlin scene.
Of
But
course.
at the beginning of the episode, it was a bait. It was like a bait and switch that completely like kind of got me off the scent of it. I was so enamored with it, and then basically hooked on everything, every other scene past that. I was like, almost completely forgot about it. Like, wait a minute. Oh my God, we haven't done the Hamlin scene yet. And it's like, oh boy.
All right, so folks, we haven't seen the great Patrick Fabian in 3 episodes, but my God, is it worth it? Is the wait worth it? Because as soon as we see him emerge from that sink in the bathroom, you see the look on his face, and he is just so disheveled, Dragon. The man doesn't have to speak a word.
So this I got no joke. This is my favorite in all the promos and all the trailers and everything building up to this season. This is the shot I was most hyped for. Howard Hamlin in the bathroom, in the very same bathroom that we saw Jimmy, the PD lawyer in the first season. Like a location, like the rundown bathroom of the Albuquerque courthouse that we never in a million years would see Howard Hamlin grace his presence with.
Uh-huh.
And yet we see him after all the emotional things that he's been through. By the way, I got some mind blowing stuff about Hamlin to tell you. So, okay, not mine. I have some interesting stuff about Hamlin to tell you about. We have he bumps into Hamlin in the bathroom. He's disheveled. He's a mess, and importantly, he has no tie pin. No tie pin. The tie bar is gone. And basically, Howard Hamlin, he's due in court in 25 minutes for like a small potatoes case. Like he's not even in there for a big case. The idea is that HHM has taken a big hit since they lost the M essentially.
Uh-huh.
And we're in Jimmy's old bathroom, the age-old bathroom set. Howard is dealing with with his grief in a convention. I love character-wise what this does for Jimmy. I got to tell you, this is not counting the Coleman sheer awesomeness, not counting that because that's too easy. This is my favorite moment of the episode. I mean, character-wise, in the whole season so far, is my favorite moment.
I would say, I wouldn't go as far as to say the whole season. No.
Well, so far, again, the season hasn't finished yet. But
honestly, for me, my favorite moment in the whole season is you wanted me to talk, I talked.
Yeah, you mean that whole cold open, right? Or do you mean?
No, I mean just specifically the way that they wrap up the episode. But I mean, I like, who am I to scratch hairs here? It's certainly in the top 5 scenes of the season, I think.
Well, breaking it down here, so Howard, he's dealing with the grief in a conventional way, because you got to remember, this is like a few weeks after, a week at the least, at least a week, if not a few weeks after Chuck has died, and he's gotten some therapy. I mean, the wound is very fresh, is what I'm saying here, and he's been taking small cases to make up for the missing M. He has really bad insomnia. Says, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And you get a sense that Howard Heyman hasn't slept since Chuck died.
And I love how Jimmy mentions, like, oh, there's pills for that. And Howard just kind of like gives like a Joker laugh almost. You're just like, yeah.
So Patrick Fabian gave an interview about how he's been playing Howard Hamlin this season up to this point, which I found very interesting that we haven't really touched on. Here's the thing. So Fabian mentioned that he's revealed what his choices have been for Howard Hamlin, which is is a little different from what our read's been on it, which I found very interesting. Is that the way he's been playing Hamlin is that Hamlin genuinely told Jimmy in the first episode, he went to visit Jimmy and told him the whole Chuck very likely committed suicide. Because he was afraid that Jimmy was going to blame himself, and he wanted to alleviate Jimmy's blame on Jimmy. And
you're right, that is very different than what we've been speculating on.
Here's the thing, I like that it all kind of fits in here. Here's the thing, so he went there to help Jimmy out. At least, again, that's the way he's playing. He's playing Hamlin as the hero of his own story, which again is like how he's been playing Hamlin from the start. Hamlin's the guy who just wants to keep HHM running, wants to keep his own lifestyle at bay. Or say Hamlin's very self-absorbed in a way, not necessarily a bad way, but just like kind of a fun, kind of obsequious way.
Uh-huh.
So the point is, he went there, and what he did, he basically was sidewined at the end where Jimmy said, like, he put it all on Howard, and basically Howard's been reeling from what Jimmy told him. It's like now he put it entirely on himself, where he was expecting, like, okay, I did a nice thing for Jimmy, where it's like, no, I did a nice thing for Jimmy, and then Jimmy just completely stabbed me right in the heart, saying,
he's been reeling from that, and also he's been reeling from the whole, like, more importantly, Dragon, I do think that, like, as we already observed in that awesome episode 2 ending, the whole, like, what can I do to help? Nothing. There's nothing you can do to help.
That's what I'm saying. Like he viewed that scene as like that's just Kim Wexler humiliating him in his own office. Like we just keep rubbing dirt in Hamlin's wound this season. But think about it, Jimmy hurt Hamlin in a very unfair way this season. He's kind of destroyed Howard Hamlin, the man. And then we just keep piling on and piling on. We see Hamlin's disintegrating before our eyes.
So dramatic, yeah.
It's fascinating. Like again, Jimmy doing something very callously. He's unintentionally. He's basically destroyed Hamlin by inches since we've been seeing him. So getting back to this kind of the episode here, I think so Jimmy's asking Howard, I got to know what's eating you. And think about this moment. Now, this moment directly connects to that Kim Wexler moment, Tiki, where he says, what's eating you, Howard? And Howard hesitates. And I wonder, now, Howard's either hesitating, honoring Kim's wishes, or, again, per what Fabian's playing, most likely, he doesn't want to risk Jimmy hurting him any more than he already has. Maybe that's why he doesn't say anything. Like, you know what, I think I've said enough. I think it's kind of interesting. Again, it's playing to like the Rorschach test of the season, Tiki, with all this Hamlin stuff. I thought it was really cool.
Sure.
So Jimmy offers his shrink. He has a number for his shrink. And Hamlin reveals, I'm already seeing somebody. And, of course, we have this really funny question Jimmy asks, is he any good? And, of course, looking at Hamlin, no, he's not any good.
Also, Dre, I want to point out, like, kind of some inside baseball therapy stuff. Twice a week is abnormal.
Well, yeah, I mean, again,
that's an abnormal amount of therapy, Dragon.
Well, it is right. You're right, it's abnormal. I got that. I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's like that's if something goes wrong, then you up the sessions, wouldn't you? Like, in this case, like, it's right after a death, so when you up the sessions, then relent the sessions over time? Or lower, like...
Yes, I'm just saying, like, generally speaking, twice a week is an extreme case, generally speaking.
That's fair. And then again, Howard Hamlin's kind of a man of... You thinks he deserves the best of everything, therefore, if like he just flirt around the idea of 2 sessions, like, okay, yeah, let's do 2 sessions. Yeah. I'm Hamlin, darn, I can afford it. had to sell some Ham Wendigo suits to pay for it.
All right.
Okay, no, but all seriously, let's see. So yes, he offers the number. He says, "I'm seeing somebody. Is any good?" Yes. So I think. Here's the thing. This is the reason one of my favorite moments in the entire season so far, Tiki, is I love that to Jimmy, this is a haunting glimpse at what if he saw the shrink, if he did what Kim wanted to, if he processed the emotions like a normal person would, if he dealt with it, if he deals with his past, like the past issues that he and Chuck have had, if he deals in the past, he gets a glimpse of what his future, what he at least thinks his future might be. He's going to be suffering like Hamlin is right now. That terrifies Jimmy. Like, again, my read on this whole scene, to you, this whole episode is that after that low of lows moment, Jimmy was actually going to see the shrink like Kim wanted him to, but then he saw Hamlin, and seeing Hamlin's like, oh no, I can't do this. I don't want to. Like, this is what I'm afraid of, and seeing what it did to Hamlin, I can't. Again, thinking of himself, being kind of selfish here is like, in regards to like seeing what Hamlin's been through, is like not really like feeling bad for Hamlin, he's just like thinking of himself at this point still.
Right.
Jimmy, he intended on calling a number maybe, but instead he's made the choice to go forward, which of course is Saul Goodman. Like, I'm not gonna, no more pass, no more Jimmy McGill, no more slipping Jimmy even. I'm gonna go forward, which of course is cementing his path as Saul Goodman. And we have this great kind of full circle thing with the opening where he tears up the phone number where he was making a call with the phone number at the very top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like Jimmy's hope essentially with that shrink's number, with that phone number, goes in the toilet.
Literally in the toilet. Very on the nose symbolism there, guys.
Yeah, okay. Final scene, Tiki. I think we need some visual cues for this.
Yes. So folks, I am like absolutely blown away and emotionally fucking crippled by this final scene. I really am. This final scene just got to me. It got under my skin. I've been thinking about it all day. Odenkirk's performance. Of course, it wouldn't work nearly as well without the contrast of the cold open. But my God, Dragon, set it up, and then I have all the dialogue. All right, so cue me up for the dialogue.
So just to recap, Jimmy's at the courthouse, by the way, because he needs to keep up with his PPD, basically his deal, until he gets his law license back, basically the parole and everything, and all that, all the probationary stuff he has to deal with until those 10 months are up where he gets his law license back. He has to check in with essentially kind of a legal parole officer. Not like hey, you stayed out of trouble. It's kind of like, okay, let's check the boxes here, essentially. So we have this great overhead cubicle shot, which I really like, by the way. And then we have the PPD guys checking Jimmy's progress. Do you want me to set up from here? Like, do you want me to set up to Jimmy's side of the conversation?
Set it up to basically Jimmy's monologue answer.
Gotcha. Just want to make sure. Okay, gotcha. So basically, the PPD guys like run down the list here. Okay, community service. Yeah, of course, we've seen Jimmy at community service. All this tracks, by the way. Your PPD fees, again, the money that Jimmy's been kind of building up on the side, the PPD fees. Lawful employment, CC Mobile. Bring your pay stubs next time, which again, possibly, I don't know if there's a receipt. No, never mind. Let me redact the receipts comments. I'm getting hung up on the receipts. I'm sorry, folks. It's like tax time. I don't know. So you're not associating with known criminals, which again, technically they're not known criminals. So again, Jimmy's still not lying in this, by the way. He could lie to this guy. I'm saying, like, I don't think he's not. They're not known criminals. He plans. Then he's asking Jimmy's plans after 10 months. What are you going to do after the 10 months are up? So then Jimmy has this big declarative reveal. So, folks, this is a huge reveal here. This reveal is basically, we've been wondering for 5 episodes now, what exactly is Jimmy's plan this season? Why is he getting these odd jobs? What is he doing? Like, necessarily, what is this all building to? And we had a tease at the very top of it, like where things might be leading, but now we get the full. Basically, the tragedy is cemented in an excellent monologue, an exquisite monologue delivered by the wonderful Bob Odenkirk, who knows how to end an episode. All the best episodes, all my favorite episodes, usually episode 7s, end with Odenkirk. So, Tiki.
So he mentions he has some plans, and the officer's like, such as. Until then, I'll show up here every second Monday of the month, like clockwork. I'm going to keep my job at the cell phone store. I did 9 months and 24 days. I will get my law license back. My partner and I will get a new office. It'll be like it was, but bigger and better. Everything will be better. I'm going to have more clients. I'm going to win more cases. I'm going to be a damn good lawyer, and people are going to know about it. And then the guy cuts him off like, okay, so lawyer. And Drake, that's even more heartbreaking to me, where it's like, Odenkirk's giving this big, passionate speech, and it basically amounts to a tick of the box.
Yeah, I just want like a yes or no, like a little fill-in-the-blank answer here. I don't need all the... It's not unnecessary.
But Jimmy is just, I mean, Dragon, like I said, this monologue and how hopeful Jimmy is, it's fucked with my emotions all day. I'm not exaggerating, man. I'm still reeling from it.
And hit him with the last line.
Well, the last line is just, lawyer.
Yeah. It's a big line. Again, one, it's kind of a fun little horse we've had, like Mike saying, lawyer. Not only that, but in all seriousness, we've seen like kind of a light context, but seriously, it's like the last line is like, lawyers, and I'm committing to that path. And of course, the tragedy evolves in focus here. The tragedy of Jimmy McGill is that we have cemented here, and I love this. I think we got this at just the grand midpoint of it all, Tiki. I love this. That he wants to reclaim the high point of Better Call Saul, where the high point in the series for Jimmy and Kim was they had the dentist office as Wexler McGill. They had Francesca, and again, I love that Francesca's tied into all this.
Mm-hmm.
At Francesca, everything was going great. That this the humble little dentist office of legalese of the old folks and everything. They had it. Everything was going great for them And again, he made Kim proud. He just wants to make Kim proud again, like things were going there before. Again, Chuck took his Shangri-La away from him. Essentially, he's kind of trying to unwrite what he feels Chuck took away from him. And I love and this is the bit that really got me when I was watching this, Teak. The bit this is the bit that haunts me and all that. The whole, and people are gonna know about it because, as we know.
Yep. Same here, Dragon. Same here.
That's the thing.
Just dripping with irony.
I'm going to be the best lawyer, and people are going to know about it. That line is like he's going to be known. He's definitely going to get the notoriety he wants. He's going to get notoriety, but not as a good lawyer. He's going to be the ambulance chaser lawyer. He's going to be the strip mall lawyer, not the good one you write home about. And he's not going to have Kim by his side. The left branch. He's going to have a pache. He's going to have the strip mall equivalent of what he wants. And it's going to be a lonely experience. And again, as we've seen, so full circle, and this is when it dawns on you. This is kind of like this is kind of the Nolan editing of it all here, folks. It's like when it kind of dawns, you're like, oh, that's what that idea is. Oh my God, it's mind blowing. Where you see all of it builds to, again, we've seen the grand end point. We've seen where all of the hope of Saul Goodman dies. Okay, we've seen the end of Saul Goodman, and what we've done here is we've seen the beginning of Saul Goodman, essentially. The beginning of the ride begins, and we've seen the end.
All right. So, Dragon, this is a long podcast to begin with, so let's try and keep the spec as short as we can.
There's not a lot of spec to it. It's just okay, so promo. Promo is interesting. We saw Jimmy in a red and yellow tracksuit, which, of course, in the Albuquerque verse, red and yellow are the colors of criminality. So there's definitely something intentional going on there. Mike is at Stacy's door. We see a lot of Wexler McGill sketches, including a bus bench. Jimmy is visiting Howard Hamlin yet again at HHM, and Howard looks kind of distressed by this.
It looks like it's like a scheduled meeting.
Possibly, I think so. Yeah. We see more of the nail salon next episode, and Gus and Mike are dealing with somebody. We don't know who, but they're dealing with somebody next episode. All right, speculation. What do you got?
I've got one big theory that, it's kind of a stretch, but what if it's more of a what if, all right?
Right.
What if Kim ended up being the person to defend the punks who jumped Jimmy?
I'm sorry, I love that idea, and that would kind of tie in with the piñata of it all, because if they have to cop to who they were beating up, and of course Jimmy being the pervert.
Why they were beating him up and why they knew he had money.
That would be fascinating, and I mean, either there was a witness, or here's the thing: there either could have been a witness, security cam footage, or they get pinched for doing that to another person. Then they have to, kind of cop to some other stuff. I don't know, but again, like Jimmy could be the proverbial pinata, and that's the pinata that kind of cracks open the relationship, or at least builds to that for the following episode, which is the whole like something terrible. Well, no, sorry, it's not something terrible; it's something stupid. That's what it's called. No, I'm not commenting on the episode, folks. It's what the episode title is. Anyway, so yeah, let me see. Ultimately, I think, let me build to that here. Real quick, with the spec I was teasing up at the beginning, thing I keep forgetting to mention is in episode 2, we saw this brief hint at something where Jimmy was running his hands through his hair and he lost the hair, implying that he's going bald like Saul Goodman.
Right.
Little thing I just meant to mention way back when. It's like little. Okay, anyway, back to there's all here. Okay, if we do anything with Nacho, that could also tie into the pinata thing where he's physically beaten like a pinata, but I like your theory better, I gotta be honest. I don't know how feasible yours is of happening, because it'd be awfully coincidental, but it'd be cool, though. That's the thing. It'd be cool if it happened, though. I think Hamlin's going to get an emotion.
I already mentioned the fact that I personally think that Kim's at least gearing up to quit Mesa Verde, but I like your idea that she doesn't get the chance to quit and instead gets fired.
It'll be interesting to see. I think someone's getting beaten emotionally, and I really think Hamlin's going to be beaten emotionally as a pinata.
What do you think of potentially Hamlin mirroring Chuck and offing himself by the end of the season?
Now you mention it, I got to be honest. It's gonna be. We're gonna be bawling like babies when that happens. But I gotta tell you, I think that I'm gonna be so bummed.
The thing is, we always kind of assume that if there's gonna be a suicide this season, it's gonna be Nacho. But Yeah, Howard is not in a good shape right now. He's really not.
I mean, less suicide for Nacho, more like his father would get killed. But
Mhm.
I
Oh,
gotta.
that's true. Yeah, we kind of switched gears on Nacho to his
I
father.
didn't even consider Hamlin. Again, things are really dour for Hamlin. So I gotta tell you, that's
I mean, I feel like Hamlin's in a place where like it's almost an irrecoverable emotional state right now.
irrevocable.
Thank you, Mister. Anyways,
But yeah, I don't want it to be true, but I mean that story wise could make sense. But then again, I don't want him to be known for like, hey, every season has a suicide.
no, I mean I hear that, but by the same token, I feel like again it'd be kind of like mirroring, not necessarily like a staple of the whole show, more so kind of like just where the show is at this point. But
Sure. I think it's a very that's a mind blowing theory. My mind is truly blown by that. We'll see how that goes.
thank you.
Let me see. Saul Goodman. I think we're at a point of no return. The beginning of Jimmy, losing that self realization that he's had before. Like, again, where like he lied to Kim. I think next episode is gonna be the first lie, the first bold faced lie to Kim. I think next episode's gonna have that, where he's not gonna have that line anymore. Where he's gonna have that self realization of like, no, I gotta now get the job with the cell phone, so because I can't lie to Kim. Like, we're not gonna have that anymore. I think he's gonna make a lie, and he's gonna have to make peace with him because he's more Goodman now than slipping Jimmy or Jimmy McGill anymore. I think based on all this, like Gus and Mike dealing with somebody, Mike had this sort of line along the lines of like, we can't just like make sure he stays alive. We got to we got to make sure he doesn't go bouncing off the walls. Now that implies like a kid to me. Now I wonder one of two things. The out there idea is that we might see Fring's family, which we do. We have kind of vaguely teased that. So that's a very out there idea. We might see like Fring's kids and Mike giving again. Mike and Stacy are going to have problems next episode. Maybe Mike's kind of giving Fring some perennial advice. I don't know. But I think the most likely thing that's going to happen is that in regards to Fring is that I think we're going to explore Fring's paternal side, like with Gail Bedecker, if anything. Yeah, I think it's going to be Gail Bedecker. I think that's more so what they're referring to. Long shot as it could be Fring's actual family. Because again, some people may be Ernie fan theory. Some people may be he has like a younger son. I don't know. We'll see. And again, last thing is ultimately Wexler McGill 2.0, of course, will be that dream, the thing that they're building. That Jimmy's going to be building an office and everything. And that dream is going to be that building is supposed to be Wexler McGill. And in the end, the strip mall job is going to be turned from Wexler McGill to Saul Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be basically the end of the season. We'll be left with he did all this for Kim. And we're going to be left with the symbol of slipping Jimmy without the humanity, which is Saul Goodman. That's my big prediction for he's going to win everything, but he's going to be winning like a tin cup prize in Saul Goodman. So that's my big theory.
All right.
Okay.
So, final thoughts, and then we'll make a call.
Yes.
Okay, Dragon. I'm gonna start with my final thoughts, and they're gonna be very brief, very simple, but they were basically what I was writing down in the moment when I was live tweeting the episode. So I had one tweet at the start of the episode, and then one tweet at the end of the episode. All right.
Right.
So at the start of the episode, I was less than a minute in, and I'm already in full on what the hell is going on mode. God, I love this show. And then at the end of the episode, right after I finished watching it, I put straight up, Better Call Saul is straight up among the greatest feats of character building I've ever experienced in any piece of fiction. It's that good. And I mean that, Dragon. This episode cements it for me.
All right.
Final thoughts on your end?
For me, I think it's such a great episode. It's definitely the most Breaking Bad. Like we literally linked up Breaking Bad so far. That link up was mind blowing and very well utilized to complement the Jimmy reveal for the season about what he's. Basically, it's perfect for the season at a halfway mark to reveal what Jimmy's end game is, and of course, you see basically the whole show and premise is a tragedy. Now we see the tragedy beginning here. I think that's so beautiful, so beautifully sad, but beautiful all the same. I think Mike. Here's the thing: the big props I gotta give the episode retroactively. The Mike and the Gus Fring story about building the super lab, it's better after that Jimmy reveal because think about it thematically, because that was the only gripe I had against the episode initially, the first watch. The only gripe I had initially was that I mean, this Frank stuff's good, but I mean, and no, it wasn't bad by any stretch. I'm saying that it was like, okay, well, it's not, it's kind of pale in comparison to the other stuff, but
I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's not quite as interesting as the other stuff, but it still kind of lays a lot of groundwork and is a really interesting window into Frank's thought process.
I mean, that's true. And again, all those points are absolutely true to you. What I'm saying is, here's something that made it better for me, though. On the rewatch, is I love that thematically, the reason that it's here in this episode is that we're both building dreams that. Bad breaking. Anyway. Their dreams they had route in the future, where like Wexler McGill turns into Saul Goodman, and the Frings like dream of like of a perfect drug lab literally goes up in smoke and fire, and just blows up in his face. No pun intended.
All right, so Dragon, let's make a call.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna call the future. We're gonna link up with the future here. 505.
All right.
503.
All right.
44. 55. Calling the future.
Hello, Hola, Yade. You called Saul. You reached the offices of Saul Goodman and Associates, your one-stop shop for all things law. If they accuse you of breaking bad, better call Saul. If you're currently under arrest or in custody, follow my 3 patented rules. 1, keep your mouth shut. 2, keep your mouth shut. 3, don't make eye contact with anyone in a holding cell, unless you're looking to make a love connection. Visit my website for more free advice. BetterCallSaul.com. The solution to your problems is just minutes away. Your call is important to us. Please continue to hold. Drug felonies, press 1. DUI, press 2. Slip and fall on government property, press 3. Illegal animal smuggling, press 4. Unreasonably hot fast food beverage accidents, press 5. Wayfair 515 victims, press 6. To continue this message in Tagalog, press star. Your call is important to us. Please continue to hold. What, the cops won't let you hold anymore? You running out of quarters? Look, if you're going to break bad, you got to be prepared. For more free legal advice, head to my website, BetterCallSaul.com.
It always amazes me how drawn out that thing is.
All right, take us out, Dragon. Remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally.
Lawyer. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to throw up.